Greetings, friends. Your cartoonist pal Stan here with a brand new episode of Random Encounters, the work in progress uh, type vein, subgenre. I don't know. This is the show overall where I'm doing interviews with folks who work on tabletop role playing games, which are now 50 plus years old. And while we chat, I begin drawing cartoon homages to classic pieces of gaming art. That's the big picture. The work in progress is I got into a space a few months back, around about the beginning of the year, where I was doing these sketches during the show and not finishing them. So work in progress is I'm taking those back and working on them to finish them off. I most recently, finished the last of season one drawings, which was really good. If you are not a member of the 50 Years in the Dungeon free Substack, why not? And if you are a member, then you've already gotten to see that finished piece that I did last week. It's looking great. And that means that all 52 of the 50th anniversary celebration drawings are done. But I still have about 8 or 10 of the drawings that I did at the start of season 2 as I spread into a wider uh, palette of tabletop role playing people. And that's what we're starting to work on today. The first of the season 2 drawings, which was from an episode where I interviewed Rob Schwalb, owner of Schwalb Entertainment and creator of what's it? Demon Lord, something of a Demon Lord. I don't remember. I never remember that. I remember the Demon Lord part. I just don't remember his what of the Demon Lord. I see my guest is mouthing the answer to me, but I can't read his lips at that size. So doesn't he'll tell me when I bring him on in a second, or he won't. Anyway, yes. So that's the drawing that we're going to do. And as I now have mentioned, I do have a guest to bring on while I'm focusing on the drawing. I'm going to be head down focusing on drawing. I bring a guest to come and chat, and we talk more broadly about games and life and stuff like that. And this is a guest, someone who has been on the show before, been through the initial interview, and now we can just relax and talk stuff. Shadow of the says, Eustachio, thank you, Shadow. Yes, I never remember the Shadow part. Shadow of the Demon Lord. Shadow of the Weird Wizard. And now I can tell that's what my guest has been mouthing to me all along because he's so helpful. That guest being none other than Jeff Quick from Cobalt Press.
Oh, hello.
Hello, Jeff. Shadow, you say?
Shadow of the ... Shadow of the
Yes.
ellipsis. Yes, that's right.
Shadow. That's your next game, right? Shadow of the Ellipsis.
Yes. That's it's going to be my third-party product
There we
based
go.
on the Shadow Creative Commons release.
Shadow of
Shadow
the
of the ellipsis.
Ellipsis. It's a very short
Let's take
shadow.
a refreshment break. Yeah.
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 Yeah,
We both at the same time.
we've gone a whole 3 minutes. We need a refreshment break.
Everybody out there in the chat, please take this moment to hydrate.
The pause that refreshes. Jeff Quick, how are you doing on this fine summer evening?
I'm doing real well. I'm doing well. I was just having dinner with my son, and now I'm staring at a little lens
Awesome.
to spend time with my friend Stan.
Um, we uh, we were lucky recently in that we got to meet up in person,
Oh,
thanks to
I
the
froze.
fact that our friend Sean Reynolds got married, and you were out here for the wedding. This is true, right? I'm not lying. What? Right? Speak to me. Can
I'm
you not?
back. I think
Okay.
I'm back. No, I lost.
Oh goodness, is that the kind of night it's going to be? I hope this is. I hope this is a problem on Jeff's side. Not that I wish problems on him, but if it's a problem on my side, it's a bigger problem. Um, but Jeff is frozen right now. He can't hear me. He can't hear me, and he's disappeared entirely. And he texted me. He just texted me. Let's see what he said. Um, he froze, afraid so. Oh, well, come back. I'm going to tell him. Come back when you can. You're back.
Okay, I'm back.
Excellent.
Hello out there.
I don't know. I don't know whether the problem was on your end or my end. I don't know if you caught that. I was saying I hope it's on his end, not because I wish him problems, but because it's a bigger problem if it's on my end.
I hope this is Jeff's
I
problem.
hope. I hope it's his crappy internet, not my crappy internet.
It's my crappy internet.
All right. Maybe I could draw him an avatar. As you stop here. Maybe I can. Uh, I mean, one of the things I guess, just to drop a bomb early, is you and I are gonna do another show next week,
We
not
are.
tied to this, but kind of as a alternate programming for people who aren't going to Gen Con.
That's
And
right.
I'm working on whatever the graphic, so I can put the show up so we can let people know. I need a graphic to go with that. I'm
Oh
trying to
yeah.
figure out what the graphic is going to be.
Just let AI decide for you. Just
Uh,
AI, I need a graphic, and it'll make you something kind of half-assed.
yeah, well, I prefer to half-ass my own.
Listen, I got two half-asses right here.
I've been half-assing longer than AI's been around.
I suggest you whole ass it. That's what I think you should do.
Like it says, when I do the book of the 50 years, I could have a caricature of all my guests. Yeah, that seems like a lot of work.
Good luck with that. No, that sounds
Well,
great.
I mean, I suppose that if I throw this into the crowdfunding, that could be
Ooh.
all right, this will get it done. And if we hit some pretty big stretch goal, because it's not an insignificant amount of work. We had a
Yeah,
significant stretch goal. I'll do caricatures of the guests.
you got to do it with this face I have on right there. Wait, where
Yeah, well,
I lost
nothing
it.
says
Nope,
Jeff Quick like that face.
I lost the face. No, I
That's
had
how
it, and I was holding it.
I. So Jeff,
Nope,
you
it's gone.
these days are working at Kobold Press, which we've talked about
I
before.
am. I'm a senior editor with
Mm.
Kobold Press. I run the blog, and so in some ways am the voice of the company in that particular way. But
Mm.
also I work on a bunch of special projects and I edit books whenever they come around. Most recently, I edited a few chapters of Player's Guide 2, which we kickstarted earlier this year and is well on
But
its
that
way to
was
being done.
Player's Guide to Ellipsis.
That's my brand.
Uh,
And and we just today, I believe, announced that we will be doing a Northlands World book, which is
mm,
going to be a big book about uh, your snowy Viking kind of character,
nice.
your Nordic-y kind of character, and it is thoroughly researched. It's really good. Like it is more than just a pastiche of Viking crap that we could think of. We had a consultant that, and not just like we also had like what's the word I'm looking for? A sensitivity consultant, but we also had like a do you know what the hell you're talking about consultant
Okay.
that our lead designer Brian Suskin checked in with frequently, and a lot of good stuff about rune magic and giants, and it's going to be a real good book. I will probably edit that, but I'm not sure. I haven't been assigned it yet. But signs point to me doing the editing on that, at least some of it.
Mm.
Um, and uh, and some other stuff I'm not even sure I can talk about yet.
All right.
But
Well,
but
don't talk about things you can't talk about.
I'm not sure if I can. I
Well,
won't talk about them.
be
But
safer than sorrier.
there's the face.
You
Yeah.
don't want your sensitivity coach Bjorn to come looking for you. We're not supposed to talk about that. Now you get the big axe.
But yeah, Northlands is the next big thing, and pretty excited about it. I've been editing bits of it for the preview. We usually put out a PDF preview of
Mm-hmm.
every book in the Kickstarter, and so I polished off edits of that today, and it should be done. Um,
Nice.
and um, and more that I look forward to talking about whenever it's announced.
Right. Right.
I don't know.
But something that has been announced that should be releasing at Gen Con
Yes, go on.
is
Could you be referring to?
a card game.
Yes. Yes.
I might
I
be.
think I think we're thinking of the same thing.
I think so. Maybe we should share it with other people.
The game is called Necromancer. It is a take that kind of card game. A little bit of a throwback to back whenever card games used to be just piling on the winner, uh, trying to trying to win. But we think we might have fixed some of the unfun parts of that, and and it's just sort of a fun build up your army of undead and go fight everybody else and or alternately go try to sacrifice 5 of your mortal minions at the well of eternal life, and either way you will gain ultimate power and win. So yeah,
Ultimate Power sounds good. And
but
I did.
every
Oh,
necromancer wants it.
I did the art for it. I
You
did
did
art.
all of the art.
I did.
Stan did. There's no art in there that wasn't Stan's. Um, we worked together on this a lot last year. Um,
Lot. The second half of last year, there was a lot of Necromancer happening.
I feel like in the first half, like I remember writing art briefs in, was
Yeah.
that this year?
No, you're
I
right.
thought these
No,
were
we
last year.
started like in February of last year. It was a good
Mm-hmm.
2/3 of last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like it's fun to write art briefs for a while, but after you have to write like 100 of them, you
Yeah.
start to get a little laconic. This one is a man.
He's doing a thing.
He's doing something.
There's,
Figure it out.
I don't know. There's a guy and he's doing something.
What are we paying you for? Make it look good.
Yeah, I mean, I did about 130, 140 pieces for that game,
Yeah.
all told. And I tell you, one of the things I know you know this. um, when you we were getting ready to start it, the art director worked up a mock up of the box, and one of the ways I was totally in, right. I love Wolfgang. I love the company. I love you. Working on this project was totally in, but the big thing he did was work up a mock up of the cover and put my name front and
Oh,
center on the cover. Not just my name, used my signature for it.
yeah.
Art by Stan. I was like, all right, yeah, no, I am so in. Well played.
I remember that because that was Mark was just like, "Oh, that's all the information I have right now," and I'm like, "Okay, Mark." Mark is our
Cool.
art director, and he's fantastic.
He is. He is. Yeah, so folks should look for that at Gen Con or at their local
At Gen Con,
stores.
yes,
Yeah.
I have it. I have it on good information that it will be at Gen Con and at your local game store soon after.
Excellent. And
Should
you
anyone
can
have
go
in
to
mind?
the Kobold website and pre-order it still.
You can. You can. In fact, we have a dedicated website for this.
Oh,
I know. I fancy. I think I just submitted it to Board Game Geek, and I don't know if it's up yet. Let's discern. Let's take a moment right now
let's
to see.
let's. Meanwhile, while you do that,
Necromancer.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna grab my iPad Pro, which is what I do all my drawing on, with the app Procreate and an Apple Pencil, none of which are sponsors of this show. I I do not hesitate to say, though I'd happily take their money. Um, and anyway, someone else wants to sponsor, give me a call. I'll totally sell out.
NecromancerCardGame.com. That's what we're looking for.
There you go.
NecromancerCardGame.com.
There you go. NecromancerCardGame.com. Um, yeah. I mean, I'd do a cartoon homage to that, but I did the original, so that would be pretty boring.
You can pre-order there. You can also see images, videos, get a download of the rules, get to know the game.
And let the game get to know you. All right, let's see. Let me switch on over here.
Yeah. Oh,
There we
you should
go.
definitely draw something of the Demon Lord.
The shadow. This demon lord doesn't have a lot of.
Shadow. Yeah, Shadow. That's it. Yes. When I saw that, I was like, that doesn't look like D&D. That looks like Shadow of the Demon Lord. I had not realized that you had moved on from D&D art and were now
Yeah.
just
I
doing
mean, while we're here, we can
game
look.
art.
I can show everyone here. This is what we are working on last week from the 2025 Monster Manual, the last
Hmm.
of the. So celebrating the 50th anniversary, I had to do 52 drawings
Hmm.
because math and time.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. But yeah, this is the last of them, and I think it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, I'm digging it.
Um, we got Minsk and Boo showing up. We were
Yep.
talking last week about how these covers of uh, the new core books, all of them are bringing in characters from properties of D&D that have not always been uh, absorbed into the game itself, the game proper,
Yeah. Yeah,
which I think is great,
I do too.
right? I mean, Minsk and Boo, they've made a big splash. Everyone loves the Minsk and Boo. Now they're on the cover of the Monster Manual. Right before that, in the Dungeon Master guy, we got Venger and
Yep. Warduke. Yep.
Warduke and Skyla.
Skyla, I don't know. What, is Skyla
Skyla,
from the cartoon too?
no, Skyla, like Warduke, is from the
The
action
toy
figures
line?
and coloring
Yeah.
books
Okay.
of that era. But there they are, and I didn't draw it, and a lot of people don't notice it, but on the player's handbook, the the characters are the characters from the characters that are getting beaten up in the center are the ones from the cartoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is about time. Maybe a little past time, but I don't know. Maybe not. Wizards has, I think, wisely decided to start leaning into their IPs,
Yeah,
um, and um, and treating them like assets, like things that people can get to know and rely on.
and the
Um,
fact that the audience, so much of the audience, came to it through them. Right? They
mhm.
don't draw those lines that got drawn for. I mean, sometimes good, sometimes petty reasons. Of that's not ours. We had no control of it. That kept.
Well,
Oh,
I feel like they need to reintroduce a lot of these characters because people like you and me watched these on television or read the novels or whatever, but those novels are not still in print, and those TV shows, it's not impossible, but it's not easy to watch anymore.
yeah.
Um, and so you have these sort of concepts that are floating around, right? It's just sort of like how Burger King brings back the king every few years, right? It's like you've got this character, you need to introduce it to
Right.
the new audience so that they can continue to relate to your brand through that character.
If you want to use that character, I mean, I think the big thing was for a long time, TSR and Wizards didn't want to use them. I think that now Hasbro and
Yeah.
Wizards do want to take advantage of them, but like you say, that at this point involves, well, reintroducing folks to them because there's a lot of people who, as you say, haven't seen it or haven't had the opportunity.
Why would you say or surmise that uh, TSR and Wizards didn't want to do that?
They didn't
Um,
at the
why? That's
time.
what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah.
The,
What was
well,
their
the
reasoning?
the D&D cartoon was always held at arm's length for several reasons. One, because it was so kids oriented, and when it
Yeah.
came out, the people who were playing and making D&D were like, I mean, that's all right, but it's not D&D.
Right.
And
Right.
and then there was a problem that uh, TSR didn't own it,
Yeah.
uh, and um, their answer there was to just walk away from it. Then then it was discovered there was a question about who owned it. Right?
Hmm.
Marvel and CBS owned the episodes, but they didn't own Dungeons and Dragons, and it was questionable as to whether they owned those characters. And so TSR started playing around with it by dropping them in, and no one seemed to
Yeah.
care as long as they weren't using the show. And
Yeah.
so they got more and more pulled in, um, but still not loved, not belovedly, but as a okay, well, we're going to put this in our pile. Now we can do
Right.
with it what we want, and
Right.
we can sue anyone who tries to mess with it.
I remember in third edition we'd sneaked them in somewhere into some art order. Um, but it was sneaking, right? Like
Yeah,
you just had to like in your art order you would describe the character without saying this is Hank.
right,
Um, but I mean, okay, but I mean those cartoons aside, like Minsk and Boo are straight up Wizards
right,
characters,
right. But
and
they
so
the deals with um, the games, the license deals that first of all TSR created, and then after Hasbro brought out, like they licensed away the rights to those games. So TSR didn't and Wizards didn't really control a lot of that. They got paid
hmm,
for it.
hmm. But wait,
So
I mean, but that doesn't jive, right? I mean, they couldn't put Dritz on things. They put Dritz on everything.
right, well, Driss they definitely owned. I'm saying Minsk and Boo were characters that were created specifically for kind of like the television characters. They were created specifically for Baldur's Gate. They didn't come out of somewhere previously. TSR could
Oh,
license out things that came from our books and things we already owned,
okay.
but the
Okay, I
stuff
didn't
that
know
was
that.
created specifically for the other uh, um, what's the word I'm looking for? The other format,
Hmm.
the stuff that was created by whoever the creative design team that did Baldur's Gate, who I'm sadly forgetting now. They did a great job, and it's bad of me.
Interplay
Yeah,
were the Baldur's Gate people. Yeah.
right. So they're the ones that created those characters.
Oh, I did not know that. I thought those were novel inventions.
I don't believe so.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I could be
This
wrong, but
sounds.
I don't believe so.
I don't. I doubt me more than I doubt you, but I'm sure that the internet knows. Fictional character from Baldur's Gate. Yep. Well, BioWare. BioWare is what it was. It wasn't
Right.
Interplay. Maybe wasn't Interplay like the precursor to Bio? I don't remember. Um.
right. But right after the Hasbro buyout, Hasbro was licensing all their properties to Activision, and so they
Yeah,
licensed
I
all the
remember that.
D&D stuff out again. And so again, while they could get money for licensing out Drists and anything they wanted, the stuff that was created for it was created by Activision.
Hold on a moment, please.
Sure thing. The dog must be answered.
There are dogs that need to get out, is what I'm saying. Get out. Go. Go bark at things out there.
But
I free
but
you to bark.
how will you know then? If we aren't here, how will you know? I'll hear you. No, you might not.
They're loyal and faithful, and occasionally loud. Well, look at that. I've learned things. It's a learning and growing night. I thought Minsk was Spelljammer. I had no idea
Yeah,
that that was Baldur's Gate. Um, huh. All right.
there you go.
Here I go.
Things learned. You've grown as a person.
I guess I wonder if Wizards is planning on getting their hands on some of the Baldur's Gate 3 people, or did Larian take all those with him? What do you think?
I
Do you
don't
know?
know. I don't know. And
You know things.
yeah, but I at that point they didn't tell me anything anymore, and probably wisely so. I mean, what I would just I would have just undermined them because I wasn't with the program,
Right. Right.
which we both know is not true. But what the hell?
Yep. Yeah. Well. Oh well. I
Yeah.
mean, I could sit here and have mouthy opinions, but I don't know that anybody benefits from that.
Well, you know who benefits from it? Michael and Chat and Penny Firehorse and Eustachio. They benefit from it. Anyone who bothers to sit through the previous 27 minutes, they're benefiting from it in replay. Minsk was Eustachio says Minsk was originally designed for the Dark Sun, according to the devs. Oh, home campaign characters. Well, that explains why he looks like he does. But that again, that's from the devs' home campaign, so definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely
Well,
not.
I mean, isn't that where all these characters come from, right? They always come from your home campaign.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
On
that's part of the great story about Forgotten Realms. Uh, um, when TSR acquired Forgotten Realms from Ed Greenwood, how they were looking to do another product like Dragonlance, but something that was not Dragonlance.
yeah,
And
yeah,
Jeff Grubb suggested Forgotten Realms because Ed Greenwood they'd done a lot of stuff for Dragon Magazine, and he knew that Ed told him he'd created a whole world. They had a lot going on, and so they told him, "Yeah, we'll approach Ed about that. See what he has to say." And so Jeff called Ed and asked him if he would be interested in discussing this. And Ed's reply to Jeff was, "Well, I thought that since it had been published, we'd been publishing it in Dragon all this time, that you guys already owned it." And Jeff said, "Okay, I'm going to pretend you never said that. You will never say that again. And they're gonna call you in about half an hour, and they're going to talk about licensing it from you." And all of that worked out. And in the years since, this story has been told several times. But
yeah,
yeah, no, Forgotten Realms all out of Ed's home campaign that TSR
right,
bought from him.
right, right. Yeah. What's funny to me is that I remember when Dragonlance came around, but I don't remember when Forgotten Realms came around. It just always seemed to me that Forgotten Realms was always there. Like there was just some sort of mysterious continuity. There was like Mystara, and then at some point there was Forgotten Realms, and that they all just sort of formed out of the same ether. Like Dragonlance was dun 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 Dragonlance
Right.
novels, games. It's a thing. And Forgotten Realms, I just felt like it was never not there.
Right. Well,
Um,
I mean, I say they'd done it as uh, Ed doing those articles for Dragon
yeah,
forever, but it was
he,
based on a thing that he'd started in the '60s. Like he'd been growing Forgotten
yeah,
Realms at home since the '60s, and he
yeah.
just used it for those articles, and so it really had
Oh,
been around for nearly as long as the game itself, but it wasn't officially a setting, and it was all Greyhawk.
yeah,
D&D was Gary's stuff. This was just
right.
what he did for his articles, and it caught on, and it kind of just oozed its way in.
Yeah, it did. It was just whenever I was editing Polyhedron, I came on and getting an article from Ed every month was just like a little gift I was handed, right? As and
Right.
every every 6 months I would get another vacuum sealed, specially super wrapped, uh, eh, 5 1/4 floppy disk from Ed, and it would contain 6 months worth of articles of just here's more Forgotten Realms crap I made up. Here's more stuff, and I'd be like, great. And he was so completely thorough. He would he would put it on this floppy disk. I believe he would also send paper copies, but he
Yeah.
would put the floppy disk in um, aluminum foil and then wrap it up with plastic wrap outside of that, partly to make sure that it stayed magnetically safe, but also because he just didn't trust the mail system, and that he wanted to make it annoying to get into. And so the if anybody on the cross border team between Canada and the United States wanted to get nosy about what was in it, uh, he just wanted to make it hard for them,
Yeah.
and so they wouldn't bother. And I never received one of those that was molested in any way. Like it was always as fresh as when Ed mummified it, as far as I could tell. And it was great. It was great. When you have like 32 pages to fill every month, and you have somebody who turns over ahead of time and turns over good quality work, you
Yeah.
just want to kiss their big sloppy beard for that gift.
And he might
Um,
like it.
I mean, you hope so.
That description of an Ed turnover, 100% accurate. I did so for Ed's 50th birthday. We they his friends and fans put together a book of everyone like wrote a page of something, and I did a 2-page cartoon, and it was about receiving a package from Ed,
uh,
and it was me in my cube, and I got something from Ed, and Sean Reynolds, who appears in the cartoon, comes over, and I said, "What's that?" It's from Ed, and I've got a package, which is a package, and I start opening it,
yeah,
and I start having sound effects like tear, pop, shred, and then bubble wrap comes flying out, and tape and plastic and more newspaper, and when I'm done, the whole thing is gone, and there's a disc and a sheet of paper.
yeah, yeah.
And everyone agreed. Oh yeah, that's it. That's getting started.
Yeah, no, it's great. Roger Moore would also, for a while, he tapered off, but for my first bunch of issues of Polly, Roger Moore would write something every month, and was always real pleased to have it. Roger Moore was one of the cleanest turnovers that I would have. Like Roger was a good writer and maybe a better editor. I'm not sure, but
Right.
but certainly uh, I would get something from Roger and I would just read it once. I wouldn't even really need to touch it. I would just read it. I mean, even Ed required a little
Oh, it
massage.
required a fair amount of editing.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and
The,
some people, because Polyhedron was sort of an amateur uh, publication, some people needed a lot of work. Um, but um, but not Roger Moore. Roger Moore would just turn over these polished little gems, and I would be like, well, I'll just drop that in then. It is 2 word count. It is all well written and excellent grammar. There you go. Done.
and so the other thing besides those packages that Ed is most renowned for by people who did work with him um, professionally, did editing work with him, is turnovers that begin with on a page 2 words and an open parentheses that has a series of open brackets and carets and double parentheses that go on,
Yeah.
and a page
Yeah.
that ends with a half line of closes of all of those and a word and a period.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was always still good stuff. I was never sad, right? It was all, I mean, even if you had to, you know, turn a really long parenthetical into just its own sentence, I mean, that, it was fine.
Yeah,
Whatever.
no, I'm not saying it was bad, but it was work. And Ed Stark says,
Yeah.
"Let's not talk
Yeah.
about massaging Ed," and that's a good call.
Ed, thank you for stopping by. Oh, so good to see you. So normally, Stan, I'm uh, the chat wrangler, but I don't see the window here.
You don't see the window.
No,
All
I
right,
don't know who's in chat. I don't.
in your interface there, in the upper
Yeah,
right, there should be a
yeah.
cartoon word balloon.
Aha. Yeah, there it is. Look at that.
Now you can see what people are saying.
Now I can see. That's great. Maybe you can pay attention to the drawing, and I can talk to people in chat more.
Sure, no, I'm happy to do both, but yeah, you're definitely here to help with that.
I thought that was part of the job
It
was
is
to
helping with that. Yeah,
was
yeah. But since I'm not paying you, I'm a little easygoing on some of that.
You know what? Here's something completely unrelated that I've been thinking about lately,
Yeah.
and that is when we launched third edition, and with Ed in chat here, I want to hear what he has to say. Uh, to uh, uh, to really make a big splash of it at Gen Con, we created these big uh, like dungeon runs, right? And people would come in and they'd have timed slots, and and they would just have to live and and
Yes.
but it was all like done with Dwarven Forge, and it looked really nice,
Yep.
and it was a great way to the Dungeon Delve. Thank you, Ed. It was called the Dungeon Delve, uh, and I think we did that for a couple of years,
Oh yeah.
but uh, it seemed like it sort of went away eventually. Did that? What do you remember about that, Stan? Did you have uh, any input into that?
I did have some input. Ed and his group were in charge of putting the dungeon delve together. He will have a lot to say about it.
He
Uh,
says there's a long story behind that.
yeah.
Maybe instead of making you type, maybe I'll just call you Ed and we can talk about it. But
um,
um,
but I tell you what, I will tell what I said. Ed, in if you're up for it, since you're watching already, feel free to chime in chat. But I will
yeah, yeah, please
I'll
do.
do my part of the heavy lifting here. In that it was that was among the things that we did that first year with D&D. There were stations where you could build your own characters. But the Dungeon
Mhm.
Delve, one of the things we wanted to do was show off how the third edition was going. And Ed and his team came up with this idea of doing this big, big dungeon that would be permanent throughout the show. So you had a
Right.
time, people could sign up for a time slot, and they had 45 minutes or an hour to go as far as they could in there, and they could leave notes on the map
That's right.
and
That's
note
right.
things,
Yeah.
and where people died got X'd out on a board, and
Hmm.
that was also, I think, the first year of Dwarven Forge. It was very early in Dwarven Forge's
Yeah.
life, and Ed
Yeah.
Stark went over to Dwarven Forge and talked to Stephen, who ran it, and said that they were doing this and they would love to use some of their stuff for this, and talked him into letting us have some. And it was kind of like, sounds good, but I only have so much. I'm not sure. I want to sell it. And Ed was like, but only what you want. And, and so Stephen gave it to him. Everyone loved it. People started running from uh, uh, the dungeon delve
From the
over
delve.
to the
Yeah.
Dwarven Forge, and they sold out. And so there's a good connection for uh, the team, the D&D team in general, with them. We started placing orders directly from the company, but the um, Dwarven Forge also started saying, whatever you want next year, just tell us and we'll supply it. So that became a long running connection because it worked out so well for both parties.
I, I, I mean, it feels like it's not that that kind of symbiosis wasn't known before then, but that feels like an early sort of version of that kind of cooperation of, give us your product and
Yeah,
we'll we'll advertise it for you basically. Um, that I know everybody who has a game table to sell at a convention, you know, they just go get a game
right.
from some other company uh, at the booth and uh, and they want to show their game table in action. Here's a game laid out. This is how it would look if you were playing a game at this table in your own home. Isn't that amazing?
Right.
But the I'm sure that they, the 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 company that they borrow the game from or get the game from is happy to have their game uh, advertised on in someone else's booth for the entire convention.
Yeah, but this was a really good symbiosis like that, in that Dwarven Forge was if not brand new, still pretty new um, to the world, and having this uh, dungeon delve from that everyone wanted to get into and everyone was talking about, have that
Yeah.
cool stuff just work great for everyone involved.
Well, Ed says he had to wrangle Stefan for years to get that arranged, so maybe it wasn't as effortless as we're telling it.
Yeah,
But
no, I would believe Ed on that. He would know. He would know for sure. I
he
mean,
says the origins of the Dungeon Delve date back to the old second edition character generator and map maker.
I know that
So
it
there you
even
go.
in the years before the dungeon delve happened, that the core D&D team talked about doing something like that, right? Having a big event like this, and it. I don't know whether I'm sure they tried other iterations. So the one that we're remembering is the one that A synced up with the launch of third edition, and B landed that idea and did it really well. And
Hmm.
again, I think in no small part to Ed's management of it, because one of the things Ed gets, I think, nowhere near enough credit for as the creative director for the core team in that era is, and Ed himself is a very accomplished designer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But he
Absolutely.
knew that
Yeah.
wasn't his job there. His job was to to manage the team that was doing it. So he was totally involved, but he stepped back and did a good job of leading the team and helping to guide them to get stuff done. And I think in a lot of discussions of that era, that contribution is left out for the flashier talk of what the team was doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think Dungeon Delve is another one of those things that benefits a lot from the fact that Ed was the guy who was helping to guide the execution of it.
It's Ed appreciation night between Greenwood and Stark, but Ed did, I think, really successfully like sort of bridge that gap from creative to management in ways that not everyone was as successful at.
Yep.
So Ed is saying in the chat that it started out small but grew every year, and then by the time 3E came around, it was absolutely huge. To my memory, it did not exist until third edition. I just thought the idea sprang from Zeus's head wound, but no, apparently it was.
Yeah, I would definitely trust Ed's remembrance of that. So here's a question about the plus here. Here's a question about this drawing I'm using as a reference.
Yeah.
Do you think that he has gouged those bloody streaks on his chest, or is that blood smeared on his chest?
I think it's smeared. I don't think it's gouged. But I do wonder if he has a tramp stamp on the back that we can't see.
Well, it's not a 3D drawing, so I don't need to worry about
that. Yeah, that's a great question, Michael in chat. What else did Ed do at the same time? Ed probably remembers his bibliography better than I do, but let me see if I can dredge up. The thing that actually occurs to me that I never saw, but I heard him talk about this, and I was just enamored by the idea, was that sometime in college, Ed just started an "I'll make a campaign for you" kind of thing, and like he didn't like there was an island and he was like, okay, tell me where your party's going to go next and I'll tell you what's there, and was just making it up as he went along. And it was like this really sort of early proto kind of, at least it seemed, I imagined it, who knows, once again Ed will have a better version of this, but he just sort of mentioned it in passing in conversation one time, and it really stuck with me that one, that someone would just have the gumption to do it, right? To be like, I'm going to make an island campaign and we don't know what's on it yet, but if you pay me money, I will tell you. And to just like stomp out there and do that seemed so amazing to me. And it was, and two, that he got people to pay him money for it. Because now people are just giving away that kind of crap for free on the internet. But back then it was, it wasn't so much of a done deal, and distribution wasn't so easy. And so things like that, or play by mail, right?
Yeah.
You know what else Ed probably had a big hand in that I don't even know the story behind? It says not much money. Was because this is another thing that I've been thinking about lately. Ed, I just need to call you and talk to you because I've been thinking about everything you've ever done, apparently. Was the Torg sort of proto campaign that went on at West End Games.
You're talking about Infiniverse, aren't you?
Infiniverse, yeah, I'm talking about Infiniverse, where they would just be like, okay, this is what's going on in the world. You can include that in your campaign or whatever, and let us know how it went. And every once in a while, they would be like, did you do anything with this place, or did you not do anything with this place? Did you beat this NPC?
It was in the adventures that we released at West End, and I wasn't there at this particular time, but I was there while it was still going on. There would be questionnaires that you were supposed to send in and fill out. And Infiniverse would It wasn't just what did you do here, although that was certainly part of it. Tell us other
Well, there
things.
was. You're right. You're right. There was an essay portion, but there
Yeah,
was also this just sort of yes no kind of binary. Well, whenever I think about sort of reenacting it or recreating it um, for the modern day, uh, I always try to think about how can I make sure this doesn't take too much work. um, uh, and so I always just sort of think about creating something that where there is just sort of like, did you do this or did you not do this, right? Did this person live or
right.
die? Did you seize the crown or did someone else, right? And so you let that sort of guide the next steps. Then you're like, okay, well, here's how the campaign changes, and then everybody can go from there.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
so
Borg was really well suited for that, it being the
yeah,
possibility wars. Right? There would be
yes,
lots of different ways. It might have happened this way. In some places, it
right,
happened this way. But going forward, this is what, no matter what happened in your particular place, reality shapes around itself, so this is what happened. And that allowed you to have those kinds of, yes, what you did work out, but sorry, reality shaped itself
right,
around what
right,
you did, and this is how it turned out.
yeah. Yeah, Ed says it was a system developed by Greg Gordon, but he inherited it. Um, uh, I, so Cobalt has recently published the Labyrinth World Book, which is like no one is trying to recreate Planescape, but you wouldn't be wrong to get a Planescape vibe off of it. It's got sort of it's this sort of over campaign of your campaign can exist within this larger setting and you can go to other places, or the factions in that larger setting can exist in your world. And so in my Tales of the Valiant game that I run bi-weekly online,
Mm,
um, I run a fantasy Pony Express game, right? The player characters are um, are riding horses across the continent delivering mail and having adventures along the way. And it's a ton of fun, but it is also uh, in the labyrinth, right? And labyrinth factions appear in the game. Um, and at some point, if they stumble across it, they might use some portals to to travel faster as they deliver mail.
hmm
So it's and so and so what I'm sort of thinking about is maybe creating, maybe for the blog, or maybe I don't know. Uh, hey, good to see you, Ed. Um, uh,
Bye, Ed. Thanks for stopping by.
Jeff, did you see the Unicorn Express cartoon? Did I? Give me
Did
more
you?
details, Michael in chat. I don't know if I saw the. I might have because I watch cartoons as much as possible. Um, uh, but anyway, I've just been sort of trying to imagine maybe something to put on the blog, or
Oh,
maybe something to right? Some kind of how's your campaign going? Are you using labyrinth factions? Right? What happened? And so sort of providing uh, some questionnaire and feedback opportunities like
right.
once a month to suggest a larger story that might transpire. All
So
right.
what when
Someone,
Michael said the Unicorn Express cartoon,
yeah.
he was talking about a comic from last week's episode of Random Encounters, where
Oh,
Unicorn Postal Delivery was the prompt, and
oh,
I'll
oh.
pull it up, and um,
I'm searching it on the
that's
web.
that was the that's what it turned out to be.
Okay. All right. Strangely
So
enough, none of that is appearing
yeah,
in my internet search.
not surprising. Not surprising.
Oh,
What
there it is.
I would do well to get better at putting things out there and using SEO.
It has certainly occurred to me to let my characters run into a unicorn eventually and let it travel much faster than the horses. Um, uh, recently, they just kind of randomly, like I rolled it up randomly as a treasure. They got a Qual's feather token of a rock, uh,
Mm,
and I was like, oh boy, they're gonna make real fast time if they're riding a rock for a day. Um,
yeah.
I was like, well, I'll figure that out. Like that's the beauty of that's the beauty of randomness is that sometimes sometimes things come up. Okay, all right, let's go. Anyway, now I'm just talking about my campaign. I don't know that anybody really wants to hear that, so
I
I'll
do.
change the
But
subject to something else. But um,
well, so you're thinking about trying to maybe do something like Infiniverse, some kind of
like Infiniverse, but in the labyrinth, and as an engagement kind of thing for Kobold Press.
right. I think that sounds like a terrific idea.
Yeah, well, I have to figure out I have to figure out what shape it's in. But Infiniverse was so good. Um, I feel like I should rip it off as much as possible.
They
I mean,
did.
really,
West End did do a couple of products that gathered because not
right?
only did it was a place it seeded possible things that you could run with for your own campaign. Like here's an idea for tell it, and then tell us how that went, and
Yeah,
maybe yours will get in. So it did have that combination of these are our official adventures that we've published. Tell us how what the solution is, and here are some other adventure seeds that you can tell us how they went for your team, and maybe they'll become official canon.
right, right. Michael in chat was saying it's a like a comic book multiverse, like What If or Elseworlds, and it's kind of like that, yeah. Except I don't know that there's really any specific canon. I mean, there are some characters. So one thing that Wolf Bauer, who is CEO of the company and is a great guy, and I like working for him. One thing that he like really pushes is he doesn't really have any interest in making um, like a story. Like he wants people to take things that he publishes and make their own stories out of them or their own games or whatever. He's like, here's a bunch of interesting things. Please make your own game out of them, right? Like I don't think he's particularly interested in like, well, this character is very special to me and it he and she must, do these things. There's really
Right,
no Elminster in in uh in Cobalt products. Um because the point is that you're supposed to take it and do your own stuff with it. Um, but I still feel like there's some version of that that we could create and let and the main goal. So one of the things that we have on the website now that is kind of exciting is a place for you to um, sort of submit a synopsis of your own campaign.
right,
Um, uh, and so and my Pony Express game is in there, right? It's one of them. But it's you retain all rights. You're not giving up anything. It's just you're entering it into a database, and this is my little corner of the labyrinth, or
right.
maybe it doesn't really have anything to do with the labyrinth. It doesn't matter, right? Your campaign world. Just tell us about it and share it with other people. Um, and so I think it would be really neat to be able to do something with that information to let people feel involved and and interact more. Right now, it's a cool database, but I want people to interact somehow. Uh, and so, you know what? This is just how I spend my spare time is just imagining crap that I um, um, in our uh, in our Slack, our Cobalt Press Slack, we have a channel for uh, just having ideas, and I am like 60% of the posts in that channel because I'm like, hey, what if we did this? What if we did this? And I think everyone is learning now how to just let me have a bunch of rando ideas and not feel obliged to actually, act on any of it. Um, but I feel like if I just keep throwing out enough ideas, one of them's got to work. Um,
I think what you were just saying about the desire to not have a storyline is not have an official storyline is it's something that RPG publishers from different perspectives struggle with all the time because if you if you don't have an official storyline, you're missing out on some of creating the engagement with the fans that the fans want. They want something of that narrative, but they also, as Wolf would say, they want their characters to be important about it, and
yeah,
walking that line is is troublesome. It is difficult, and
yeah,
rather than troublesome,
yeah,
it's a difficult thing because as TSR certainly found out, and any company that does have storyline. Certainly, I think FASA found this out because they did a lot of storyline things. So if you have an active storyline, then things change, and suddenly your old books are wrong.
yeah, yeah.
And trying to find a way to work around that or work with that is something that I don't know.
Well,
I would say
there's
I
like this.
don't know who solved it, if anyone has.
There's an there's an essential problem that I don't know that I've ever really tried to address or fix, but that is that nobody admits this, but in role playing games, we're functionally in the periodicals game. Um, we're just in the periodicals game where we produce them in nice hardcover books. Um, right. Instead, like when you say periodicals, what you're used to thinking is, People magazine or Scientific American, right?
Right.
As I publish something every month in a glossy paper format. But we publish something every month, but in a hardback format, right? And it's the series of it is not as obvious, but it's there, right? We're a publishing company and we're publishing something every month. I think Paizo actually is more overt about it than anything else. They offer subscriptions to their stuff, right?
Right.
Um, um, and so, like periodicals, the information inside of it is has an expiration date, right? You can go back and read old Newsweeks, uh, but um, but that's not what that's for, right? Uh, and so a lot of what I feel like role playing game publishing is uh, current events for places that don't actually exist.
Yeah.
Um,
And the thing that that the publishers have to wrestle with is that in order the only way to be really profitable is to have an item that you can sell over and over and over and
right.
doesn't change. But
Yeah. Right. 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 It needs to. Yes. Right. Um, but and yet you need to change it frequently, or else people stop buying it.
right.
Um, yes. Um, someone in the chat has asked about God bless you for doing this homework. He says both of you were authors in the RPGA Adventurers Guild uh, in the 99 to 2000 program. He says, Mr. Quick, do you remember anything, Mr. Quick? That's funny. Do you remember anything of your Amongst Fungus tie-in,
Mr. Quick?
Mr. Quick? Yeah, they don't even call me Mr. Quick when they're throwing me out of restaurants. Um, do I remember anything about Amongst Fungus tie-in for the Drizzt Guide to the Underdark? Think I think I edited that book. I think I did. Um, and I do remember that. Um, in that I had to write it pretty quickly. Um, and the thing that was actually amazing about that was that it was not um, awful. Normally, frankly, one of the reasons that I'm an editor and not a writer is that writing is just excruciatingly hard for me. Um, like I still write, but it's always staring bug-eyed at the screen and and waiting for words to appear. Um, uh, and so amongst fungus came pretty easily. Like I wrote that whole adventure and I was like, oh, I don't know why I have a problem writing. That was great. Um, like the characters. So this was back in the days of RPGA, whenever you would create characters ahead of time, and everyone at the table would sit down. The dungeon master would say, "Here are six characters. Who would like to play the fighter? Who would like to play the thief? Whatever." Um, and um, and so it was this like improvisational exercise, which was a lot of fun. Like you came to the table not knowing what you were going to be doing, and then suddenly, you were in charge of the dwarf cleric who was, hiding a, a, a secret worship of Lolth or something like that, right? And
Right. It
and ready set
wasn't.
go.
It wasn't just a
Yeah,
set of stats. The character
right.
had character,
Yeah,
desires, goals, and secrets that the designer had interacted to
right.
interplay with the other
With
characters.
the other characters and with events
Yeah.
in the adventure.
Yeah.
And so, when you sit down with your dwarf cleric who's the secret Lolth worshiper, you can be pretty sure that that's going to come up right in the adventure. Whatever's going to happen is that, and in fact, that's part of the fun. Like you would be a fool not to reveal that. Right? This tournament game is going to last for 4 hours. It's not particularly important that this character live, or succeed even, right? What you want is to have fun and do something interesting. And so, freed from the constraints of having to make this an ongoing character, you can do uh, you can openly dislike other player characters. You can embark on super dangerous things that are kind of dangerous. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really, you'd like your character to stay alive long enough for you to participate for the majority of the block. But um, there was a classic story of Don Bingle, who was one of the stars of RPGA back in the day. Just a fantastic role player, who got petrified about three-quarters of the way through an adventure, and he was like in a pose with like one finger up when it happened, and so he sat at the table and held that pose motionlessly for the next hour, um, and said nothing and did nothing for a solid hour, until the event ended, and that's that was a legend in RPGA, that uh, he stayed in character even when his character was petrified for an hour.
Did
Um,
he win that table? Did he get votes for
he,
winning
he
the table?
he sure as hell won that table. Don Bingle pretty much won every table he was at. He was just really entertaining and funny, and 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 able to pick up on a character instantly and really play it well. Uh, Don always just killed whatever table he was at. And in this day and age, right? If Don Bingle were still active, he would definitely be an AP actual play star, because he was just so damn good. Um, um, but anyway, and there were several people like that. Um, and so, for that adventure, I remember that I wrote a drow and a surface elf, and how much they didn't like each other. And I was really pleased with the relationship that I gave them. That's what I really remember about that, was that there was a drow and an elf, and they didn't like each other. And I managed to capture their characters pretty well in like 2 sentences, so that they could interact interestingly. Um, uh, that's an aspect to adventure writing that Living City just sort of erased. Living City was so popular, that sort of classic event kind of thing just went away. Everybody wanted to make their own character and bring their own character and experience their own uh, uh, progressive power fantasy, and God bless, that's a lot of fun. Um, but uh, sitting down and just having a character that you're just given, and you just need to adopt it and go, and there are no real constraints on that character. It's just a super fun way to play, and I'm not sure why it doesn't still exist, other than the progressive power fantasy is just such a strong um,
There's a lot of things. I
it's
think
such a strong part of it that that people don't know that you can do it another way.
there's a lot of things that happened in the third edition era that um, that became got accepted so deep that they became assumptions of that's how it has to be.
Hmm.
I think a lot of them are in game design, but one of them is this change in what organized play is like. Because before most organized play was what you're describing, right? You were coming
Yeah,
in and playing. The skill was role playing a thing that you didn't know before you sat down, and it's since gone into. I mean, it, I, like you say, God bless it. It was a great idea. Everyone wanted, and no one had really figured out how to do something that felt like. The argument was it didn't feel like D&D I played at home. It's a different thing.
yeah,
So this new uh, version of organized play that started in that era tried and succeeded at capturing, and Living City existed before that, but
yeah.
it thrived in the third edition era.
It
It
did. I would say
boomed.
that Living City got its start and got its not just a toehold, but a real hold in second edition
Yeah,
era. Um, but it yeah, it broke out with third edition. Definitely. Um,
and I think part of
just
that was you and Robert and Scott, and the resources that Wizards let you have, as
yeah,
opposed to and the new rules giving a chance to. All right, well we've got to wipe things clean, so we're going to try a bunch of stuff, and you landed it.
yeah, yeah.
So well that you ruined everything else. Good job.
Everything. Well, I mean, like we just sort of went where the interest was.
Yeah,
Like I never made a secret that I preferred classic RPGA adventures, um, but signups didn't lie. Like we would, and I think everybody in RPGA, Robert and Scott and I all, kind of preferred classic deep
right.
down, but um, but the audience wanted Living City. They wanted their character. What is Adventurers Guild now? Basically, like I have my character and I bring my same character and I collect certificates. Um, a few years ago, I helped, and my help was really minor, but I helped at a convention where it was all an Adventurers Guild convention. The whole thing was just Adventurers Guild stuff all weekend long. Um, and the way that people behaved about certificates there uh, uh, gave me hives. Right? It was a lot like how it was in the
Hmm.
RPGA, and uh, where eventually Robert and Scott were creating increasingly complicated uh, systems to make sure that people wouldn't create fake magic item certificates and flood the market with +1 swords or whatever. Like
Right.
uh, it was it was impressive how seriously they took it because I wouldn't have. I was like, you guys want to run this thing into a tree? You can if you want, but that was not their take. Yes, Living City was the model for Living Red Death, Living Force, and all. It was, yes, Living Greyhawk. Um, um, and everything that came after it. It busted out of Wizards of the Coast, and there have been living fill in the blank kind of things. Yeah, right. They needed NFTs.
I was gonna say,
That
I was talking with someone
finally,
recently about that. NFTs solve that. That's what NFTs were
yeah,
made for.
yeah. The solution came just 20 years too late. Um, um, other whole organizations took off with living stuff. Um, that, as far as I can tell, might still be going on. Um, although I haven't heard from them in a while. But it would be a decade after I'd left Wizards of the Coast, and I would hear about something, and I'd be like, "Oh, you're running a living campaign, are you? That's great. Good for you." Um,
You enjoy that shit. Go ahead.
well, I've played Adventurers Guild in both the fourth edition era and fifth edition, and yeah, it doesn't speak to me. Like, I don't know, like I make my little character and I sort of walk down the path for 4 hours, and then when it's over, somebody's like, "Well, who would like to have goggles of seeing?" And I don't know, it just doesn't. I don't care. I'm I'm not coming back. I mean, I have to. This maybe this is why I'm the game master more than the player, because, or maybe this is why I'm such a terror when I'm a player. So there's a game Stan and I play together roughly once a week, and in it, very recently, we found a magical diadem that roots tentacles into your skull and gives you powers, but probably has drawbacks we don't know about. And and this past week, I was like,
like,
"Oh, I'm gonna
like
I'm gonna put that on for sure." And everybody around me was like, "Don't do that, Jeff. Don't do it." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, maybe I won't." But I completely just want to just like stomp in and make bad decisions and press all the buttons, right? And um, I can understand why other people wouldn't want me to do that, and I try not to be a jerk. But on the other hand, isn't it kind of fun when there's somebody who will do that? I don't know. I think it's fun.
oh man,
That's why I keep trying to volunteer the other players for it. You go first. You touch it.
the funny thing is how many of us listen to you. I posted the cartoon of that moment with the crown that goes into the our halfling Benny put it on, and the
Yeah.
tentacles went into his crown, into his head. My big half orc had to pull it off his head. It's, it's my show. I can show what I want.
Yeah, that's right.
Here
Do
we
it.
go. Yeah. So
Somebody's saying that.
we needed a magic tuning fork to get it to come out of thin air, and our halfling was wearing a diadem that took control of him and wanted the crown. So he started to put it on, and my character pulled it off.
I like the little bloody holes in his head. That's nice. Yeah, right. So my cleric was like, "Well, let me put that on then." And everyone was like, what if you thought about it first? And I was like, "Fine, I'll think about it." Then when I thought about it, I realized it was a bad idea. I guess the cleric with 18 wisdom would know better than to do that.
Yeah, but your character doesn't have 18 wisdom, does he?
No, he does. He does.
Does he?
Yeah.
Wow. I know. I thought. I didn't think. I know your intelligence isn't what it we all pretend it is. But I thought your wisdom was down there too.
No. In fact, that's the only thing I've got. So when I rolled up this character, I just kept rolling terrible numbers, and I just squeaked over the line of you can abandon this character and try again. And so I was just stuck with like uh, mediocre to bad attributes in everything except wisdom. Um, and I was like, well, I guess I got to play this character then. Let's go. And I kept expecting him to die. I was
Yeah, and whose character is the only one that died?
lucky. Your character got to die.
I know. Right? Here we go. Here's our original characters. Whose character died and got replaced with someone with a very similar name, but many more hit points.
Oh, I love that little goblin is just a cheese wedge. It's such a great drawing.
I love this game. And I mean, while I'm showing these, I will take this as an opportunity to promote the fact that so
Yes.
as as you and other people have pointed out, one of the fun things about having me around the table is I draw these things all the time while we're gaming. I have, I, I mean, the trouble is I'm playing, so I don't really chronicle everything. I get one or two big moments, but I am now making it a service that I am rendering for people who are willing to hire me the way you might hire a caricaturist for your party to come to your game in person or digitally, probably mostly digitally, I'll say. I don't know that I want to go to your house. And do a cartoon chronicle of what happens during the game. And um, uh, yes, so these are the kind of things I do. Here is that moment as I drew it. Like I draw these really tiny, which I probably wouldn't for someone else. But yeah, it's a whole big page of things that happened on our adventures recently. And
And you make them funnier than they were when they like
right, I comic them
you
up.
play it up. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
Oh,
see,
well,
it
well
wasn't
worth it.
quite as funny when Benny did have that thing pulling out of his head, and my character pulled it off to save him. It's funnier in my version,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
In the most recent one, where we walked in and the room we'd been in
The
many
black
many
pudding fell
times.
on him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
random encounter, sploosh. Yeah,
One of my little bits in the game is that the halfling is a fighter, and he's a very strong fighter, and he has never been anything other than a fighter. But my oblivious cleric has decided that he must be the party thief, and so
because he's
I
desperate
always because
and he's a
he's quick
halfling.
and he's a halfling, so I always send him in to go check that door for traps. You go first. You can spot these things,
And he does.
and he does, and then
The
yeah,
thing is,
yeah.
we listen to you,
Well, I'm a wise cleric.
right? Also,
All
as
right, so
bad as your intelligence might be, it's much better than mine.
um, uh, Eustachios says I could never figure out what the tie-in product was for Pages of Doom for the Marvel TSR game. Um, so I think that by the time I was writing them, it was for Imshag, which was the Marvel Superheroes Adventure game, which was the Saga edition of Marvel, i.e., cards instead of dice. Um, I think that's what. No, or is that what Pages of was that something you drew, Stan, or was that something? Because
Nope.
it looks like this kind soul is using the internet to figure out things that I've been credited for. Um, and I did for a while for Dragon Magazine write. Um, write the Marvel page,
Right.
whatever that was.
What in
Um,
Dragon it had been the Marvel files
the
for a
Marvel
long
files,
time.
right? So what was Pages of Doom then? I don't
I
know.
don't know.
These are great questions. Thank you for bringing them up. Um,
but we're so old that you need to tell us more than that.
I'm just gonna have to look it up.
All right, I think that's the demon. The thing about doing these things digitally is I'm going to just do the demon on his own level. And I'm going to put the other
Uh,
guys on a different level, different layer.
Pages of Doom was another RPGA module. It was? What?
We did what?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Jeff, what is this thing you did and got paid for very well? Well, well enough.
Uh, let's see. It looks like it was an adventure for MShag that Robert Weiss, me, and Rich Redman are all credited with writing, and I am credited with editing. Huh. I, in the
Do you
words of
remember this
Gandalf, I have
thing at all?
no memory of this place. Um, how about that? I guess I did this.
All right. Well, what do you remember about it? Nothing? Okay, the end. Well, then clearly it was an adventure for Marvel Superheroes adventure game. And you're right about that.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you guys did that, that would have been the game at the time.
Yup. Yeah, well, I found it on Scribed. Someone has illegally uploaded it here.
Oh, good. Well, then you'll get to see what it is you wrote.
Yeah, that's why I can say with such confidence that I do not remember this at all. Um, uh, huh. If I ever happen to come across a copy of those, do you want one? Sure. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Thank you for thinking of me. Yeah.
I have very thoughtful fans here on this show.
You do. You do. I mean, these kind souls are doing more research into my bibliography than I ever have. I I I don't even know how I would find out some of this stuff. He says no need. Forget I said anything. Done. You are forgotten like Pages of Doom.
It's a good name. I'd love to know what it was.
It was apparently an adventure that involved Satana or something. I don't know. I closed the window already. Once Scribed figured out that I was looking at all the pages, it started blurring them out and telling me I needed an account, and so that is where our story closed.
Oh, damn them.
But yeah, I was I don't know that I like the base game for Saga Marvel. I don't know that I was like super involved, but I had lots of opinions, and I remember talking to Mike Selinker about it a lot, and I remember Mike ignoring most of my opinions. Um, uh, but I wrote one book for it, the Avengers book, because Steve Shind loaned me his entire Avengers comic book collection, and I spent like a week reading it so that I could get up to speed to write that book. Um, and I wrote a bunch of other stuff for it too. And I edited a lot of it, I think. Maybe. I don't know. Hell. Um,
Maybe.
maybe. Some some of the things that I've worked on I still have, but I don't feel like I was real good at collecting Imshag. Um, and I feel like a lot of my a lot of my enthusiasm for Imshag was just uh, that I loved Phase Rip Marvel so much. Um, because I did. I played the crap out of 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 the Phase Rip Marvel in high
Yeah.
school. Um, and so whenever we had the rights to do a Marvel game again, I was like, yes, all right, recreate the glory days. And I think I succeeded to
Plus,
some extent.
we were reading a lot of Marvel at the time.
Yeah, yeah. I I went on not too far after I left Wizards of the Coast. I worked at WizKids, and I worked on the very first HeroClix releases, the Marvel and DC HeroClix products. I was the developer, and Monty did the initial design, but then I took everything that he did and crammed it all down and rewrote some things, and I just got my fingerprints all over the game.
Yeah.
And um, I remember at the time one of the C-suite guys like uh, telling me what Wolverine needed to be like, and I was like, "When was the last time you read an X-Men comic? Was it Thursday? I read one last Thursday."
That's a good way to ingratiate yourself with your bosses. Oh no, Jeff seems to have frozen again. Either that or he's stunned. Oh, Jeff, come back. Oh, yes. Well, I'm going to go with what I was saying. That's a good way to ingratiate yourself with your bosses. Um, but doesn't mean he was wrong. There's a lot of stories about that where your bosses come along and want you to do a thing that they don't know about the property, particularly licensed property, as well as you do. And one of the tough things about being a professional is, oh yeah, no, he's dropped out for sure. He's back. Here he comes.
Okay, I think I'm back. I think I'm back.
You're back now.
Yeah, no, as I was saying before the internet cut me off, no, it was a terrible idea. There's no way I should have said that to somebody who had the power to fire me. But um, that's the kind of charm school dropout I was back then. Um,
Yeah, you're much more caring about what people think about you now. Hi, Dale Donovan.
Dale, hi. Well, I hope that I'm less of a dick about it. I mean, I don't know if I am, but
Well, we always liked you anyway, so it's hard to say.
well, I'm not without good points. It's just sometimes I just sort of get excited and get carried away, and then I'm a jerk while I'm being carried away, and oops, sorry, I didn't realize it until 12 years later.
Anyway, so have you read Wolverine this Thursday? Because I did.
No, oh Lord, no, I haven't read a Marvel
No, no,
comic in
I'm
years.
trying to get you back to your story.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. He just wanted to do something that was sort of like Claremont Wolverine, right? And I'm like, that's not where the property is now, man. We gotta do Wolverine that's hip with the kids these days. Uh, and um, and my cleverness won that argument, but I'm sure that it didn't actually ingratiate me to him very much. Um, uh, but anyway, yeah, I was such a big comics nerd that I was happy to get my hands on whatever comic book game existed, um, and thrilled to be working on HeroClix at the time. Um, Dale asks, "Did I ever tell the story of my oft stolen car from my WotC days?" And the answer is no, I didn't. So I had a Plymouth Acclaim. which I learned after a while. A police officer told me, he said, "Oh yeah, these cars are easy to steal. They're some of the easiest ones to steal. That's why." And I was like, "Oh, that would have been good to have known ahead of time, I guess." Um, uh, and so one
That's like,
morning,
oh no, finish your version because
well,
I've got a stolen car story to tell after that.
okay, so one morning I just came out of my apartment to go to work, and couldn't find my car. And I was like, did I park it somewhere unusual? And I walked around the parking lot, and no, I did not. I went back in and I called the police and said, I believe my car has been stolen. And they said, all right, thanks for letting us know. We'll let you know if it turns up. So we've got top men on it. And
Top man,
about a week later, and so Stan, I think, was my ride to work for a while. Didn't I
probably
ride in with you or some? But yeah, I think so for a little while.
was this in
Um,
Lake Geneva or what?
No, no, this was in Seattle.
Yeah, then
Um,
yes, I was your ride to work for a
yeah.
while. I didn't remember
Uh,
why, but that did happen.
and then like it wasn't too long. It was like a week or two later. It turned up. They just found it somewhere. Uh, and I went and got my car from the impound lot, and I remember finding like sandwich crumbs in the back seat, and it was just so strange that uh, someone had stolen my car and eaten sandwiches in the back seat. Um, and then it was probably 6 months later. Uh, I think Kevin Culp was in town, and I was visiting him at his hotel, and my car got stolen out of the hotel parking lot. And I was in the process of moving at the time, and my trunk was full of role playing games because I was moving them from one apartment to another. Uh, and I feel like my at that time the car didn't turn up for months. It didn't turn up for like 6 months. Like I just thought the car was gone. Uh, uh, and actually, more than the car, what I really miss was that was my nearly complete collection of Ghostbuster role playing game
Ooh,
in crates in the trunk. And I still miss that. That Ghostbusters is one of my favorite games ever. Just it it did so many things right, um, that I and so ahead of its time. Like indie designers are still reinventing Ghostbusters and
mm.
calling themselves geniuses for it. Um, and and that was really like eventually the car turned up, but by then the insurance company had bought it off of me. Right? It was just gone. Uh,
Right,
and and I was just like, oh, I miss Ghostbusters. Um,
and
and that
it,
was
it didn't have the Ghostbusters in it after 6 months.
I don't know. I don't know. Like the
Oh,
cops found it and like called me 6 months later, and when they did, I was like, I don't know, it's not my car anymore. Figure it out. Um, and I don't know what became of it after that. I didn't have the presence of mind to like go try to salvage what I could from the trunk if anything was still there. It probably was all still there. It's not like rando car thieves were like, "Man, we really hit the gold mine. Look at this."
you know what? They kept the car for as long as the Ghostbusters game held on, and
I don't even know what else was in there, but a bunch of probably second edition AD&D stuff, and um, yeah, I don't even know. I don't know what was there, um, but probably half of my role playing game collection. Um, I think it's pretty telling that I don't miss most of it. Like it's fine. It's fine.
so my stolen car story from around here in the Seattle area
Hmm.
was that Monty, who just figured in your previous story, Monty Cook, uh,
Yeah.
that he and his wife at the time, Sue, had a Honda Civic that they were looking to get rid of, and I was looking to do I wasn't sure about whether I wanted. They said, "Well, why don't you just drive it around for a while? It doesn't matter. We're not looking to get rid of it fast." drive it around for a bit, and if you like it, we'll figure something out. And I
Hmm.
said, great. So I brought it back to my apartment, my original apartment here in the area, and
Hmm.
it got stolen from there. Like not
Oh
not
no.
very shortly afterwards, it got stolen from uh, my parking lot, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm sorry. It's like you didn't. Nothing you can do. It's
Yeah.
like I locked the door.
Yeah.
I
Right.
do, and so they had to call their insurance agents up because it wasn't insured to me.
Right.
And they're explaining to their insurance agent what happened, and they described the car, and they said, "Well, uh, did you have an alarm on it? Did you have a club on it?" And they're like, "No, I mean it's just a Honda Civic." He's like, "Yeah, that's the most stolen car. Like half the keys work on half the cars out there. You don't need to break in. The the keys will work on the engine and the door." Like, I'm saying it was like 1 in every 8 or 10 Civics had the same keys. And
Oh
he said,
geez.
"Of course, you have a Civic in the Seattle area. Of course, it was going to get stolen." And they felt like he was either chiding them or laughing at them. No one had ever told them that. No one had ever
Right.
told me that. And that's why to this day, I still I have a club because I'm
Oh,
still
you have a
driving a
club.
Honda.
Yeah.
And people look at me like, "Why do you do it?" I'm like, "Because I don't want my car to get stolen."
That's how, I mean, the cop wasn't like condescending, but when he told me that my car was like easy to steal,
Yeah,
but he did treat it like it was somehow common knowledge, right? It was like, oh, well, these are easy to steal. Of
yeah.
course
Because
this gets stolen.
all the people that steal cars know that. All the people that own the cars find it out.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. Well, their insurance agent was not as good at passing the information along as that cop was. Because I remember them telling me how the guy practically laughed at them for having a Honda without a club.
Oh my gosh.
Yay!
All right. Well, it is getting on here where
It
I am.
it
I should
is.
probably take my leave.
All right.
Um,
Well, I thank you for coming and hanging out with me. Before you go, I'm going to stop drawing for a second. Let's turn on here. I'm going to stay and draw for a while, folks. Are here if you want to hang out still. I won't be watching the chat quite as closely, but I want to do a little more drawing. This is where we're at right now.
Looking good. Looking evil.
Looking like a demon lord that's got a shadow.
Does Rob is Rob privy to this? Is he
Well,
aware?
Rob was the person that I interviewed when I did the sketch.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
So he may not remember. I don't know because
Yeah.
But I when I finish it, I'm going to send a copy to him,
Oh,
and
good.
maybe he'll tell his fans about it, and that will be advertising for me.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, no, this is coming out all right. This is coming out okay, looking good. But before we wrap, but I'm gonna get back to just you and me on the screen for a sec.
All
Before
right.
you head on out. Um, we will be back on Saturday, not this coming Saturday, the following Saturday, doing our Gen Con alternative programming show, which doesn't have a name yet. I'm going to make it up. You don't have any say in that.
Okay. All right. I will gleefully accept whatever you do. Anything.
Um, and we will certainly talk more about Necromancer. Is that the game?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Oh man, on sale at Gen Con and
Yeah.
after.
I'm excited. Uh, and lots of other things. Oh, so Dale's going to jump on after you leave. All right, Dale, I
Okay.
will.
Awesome.
Look at
Dale,
that. Tag team.
swap in. Bam. Okay.
Jeff, thank you very much for coming in and joining. Let's flip this other switch here, and I can say that people can go to. Um,
Yes,
why
the
would it say
blog.
that? That's what I want. Yes,
There it is.
cobaltpress.com/blog.
Yes, that's it.
And
That's
that's
it.
where they find all the stuff you're doing these days.
I like your thinking, Michael, in chat. I can't wait for you to get it either. Let me know how it
Me
goes.
three.
All right. Peace out, everybody.
Thank you, Jeff. Uh, Dale, I am going to. If you have the link that I sent you last time, it'll also work. But I will right now try and uh, copy this, and I will come over to Facebook, Dale. That's where I'll do this. And I'll find you on Facebook because you and I are like friends. It's going very slow, very slow. But there we go. I have just sent you a link in Facebook, Dale. And if you want to come and join me online and chat, you are absolutely welcome. Um, and I'll even come over here and get ready to change this. Here he comes. It says you're muted in the green room. Oh, I know why. Because I'm going to make you there. There you go. Hello, Dale.
Hello, hello, hello.
And I'm going to change that so it doesn't say Jeff Quick anymore. It says Dale Don. If I spelled Donovan right, that would be how. Donovan. Look at that. Line it up so it looks pretty. How you doing, man?
I'm pretty good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Having a good evening. Fun chatting with old Jeff Quick there.
Yes, I got online just in time to hear him singing the praises of the Face Rip Marvel game, which, of course, I also deeply and abidingly love.
Yes, yes. Um, we spent some time talking about RPGA and living and not living, living and classic RPGA adventures, and lots of fun stuff like that.
Well, earlier, I was before I got online, I was reading the novel I'm currently reading from Jonathan Mabry. It's sci-fi horror. Um, something there's a space station off of Jupiter and something goes horribly wrong and they end up like across the Milky Way galaxy, and oh look, the Cthulhu mythos creatures and gods and stuff are real.
Okay.
And is it as it turns out, Lovecraft and all those people existed in this universe, and it turns out they were just kind of channeling these horrible psychic energies into their dreams and so forth. And so they're not really sure yet exactly what's real and what was misinterpreted across the eons, but yeah, they're currently fighting Shoggoths in transforming spaceships. So
That sounds like fun.
it's a lot of fun. The novel is called Necrotech.
Necrotech, and who's the author?
Jonathan Mabry.
Okay. Is this a recent novel?
Yes, I think came out within the last year or so. I got my copy from the library.
Did someone recommend this to you, or did you just happen to find it because it hits your happy zones?
I think I just came across it because it crosses so many of my interests, but I don't remember that 100%, but
All right, because it seems like something that maybe our friend Jim Louder might have recommended, or someone else.
no, I don't know. I'm pretty sure he didn't mention that to me. I may have came across it on Goodreads or on BookTube somewhere. Um, no, I don't believe I would that came from the fine Mr. Louder. Michael in chat asks us to talk about the Face Rip game for Marvel, and very briefly, that was the original Marvel licensed game designed by Jeff Grubb. Face Rip refers to the 7 abilities that each character had: fighting, agility, strength, endurance, reason, intuition, and psyche. It was a universal system. It was a one chart system. It was percentiles. Everything you did was rolled on one chart with 3 possible degrees of success: green, yellow, and red. It handled the varying power levels in the Marvel universe remarkably well, I thought. Because this is a game that had to handle Aunt May and Galactus, theoretically in the same game session. So I was a big comics nerd growing up myself. Even before it predated my game nerdery. But once I discovered D&D and TSR, I came, primarily via Dragon. Oh, look, there's a superhero game too. And so I glommed onto that and fell in love with it, ran campaigns here and there for a long time. And after I ended up starting at Dragon Magazine, there had been a irregular feature called the Marvel File,
which we also talked about earlier.
Okay, which Jeff Grubb had begun, and other people had contributed over the years. But Jeff got too busy doing other things, and people kind of stopped writing it. And once I was working at the magazine, I asked my boss and editor Roger, "Hey, I love the game. I always loved this feature. Do you care if I write some articles for the magazine? Some Marvel files?" And he said, "No, that's perfectly fine. Go ahead. You're on the magazine staff. I can't pay you, but go ahead and write them." So I wrote them. And not too long after I started, within a year or so, I think it was Stephen Shen started on the game side, and he got deeply involved in the games and editing on the Marvel side, and he started doing a column for Polyhedron because he apparently didn't want to step on my toes by doing things for Dragon. So he started the With Great Power column in Polyhedron, and he and I got to be friends, and he offered me some design work on the game, and eventually we got to talking about our respective columns. And eventually I think it was he who said, if you want, Dale, I can start writing Marvel stuff for Dragon, for which he could be paid, and anything you want to write, you could write in what was my column in Polyhedron With Great Power, and you can be compensated through Polyhedron. And I said, that sounds like a great idea. So that's kind of what we did. So he started doing a lot of Marvel writing for Dragon, and I largely took over the With Great Power column in Polyhedron and had great fun doing that.
And everyone got a little extra money in their pockets.
Yes. Well, yes, Stephen got some pocket money to buy more comics, I'm sure. And if I remember correctly, at the time, Polyhedron paid its contributors in mail order hobby shop gift certificates.
That sounds about right.
So every couple of months I have, or every few months I have a certain monetary amount worth of money to go into the mail order hobby shop, which was run by Brian Thaldorf in the days at TSR. It was kind of right in the middle of the building, right above the part of the warehouse. And it was just like, oh, I'm going to go shopping. And I bought a lot of games through that. So yes, it worked out for everyone. Everyone was enriched. And
I think it's funny. I mean, certainly one of the things that the mail order hobby shop did not just do TSR product, right?
correct, they did the entire industry. I bought a lot of Avalon Hill war games through them. I bought other companies' role playing games through them. Yeah, they were a full service mail order retailer back in the days before the internet, when mail order was strictly mail order was a thing.
Right. All right. So this is, I've got the characters all inked. Although I
Well
think I
done.
need to do a little more on the line work here. The question I'm pondering right now is whether I want to. I want to ink the background or color the characters for a little bit. As I certainly won't finish it while we have. I even with these shows, I don't finish the pieces here. I just get them a lot closer. So I'm trying to decide whether I want to put some time into coloring these characters or inking the background. I'm leaning towards coloring the characters.
Yeah, give your brain change up your brain task a little bit. Give it something slightly different to do. I know very often when I'm working now, or in the past, like when I was doing something, when I was working on Dragon magazine, for example, I do 3, 4, or 5 different tasks over the course of a day, and that kept me it kept my brain fresh from,
Yeah.
oh, I'm doing this for 3 hours, I'm going to stop and do something else now.
I mean, the funny thing is with this stuff, I could do all this all day. I just love doing the cartooning.
Well, that's good. Do you sense there's a difference in, like, if you're doing line work versus coloring or versus sketching, or is it all just the same, at least as far as taxing and concentration
No,
and
it's a difference in which part of the brain I'm using for sure.
mhm.
It's a one of the reasons that I do this show with doing homages to pieces that already exist is that if I'm trying to draw something and come up with it out of my head, I can't carry on a conversation as well while I do that. But I can recreate what's already there and do all the drawing and do the inking and all that. Uh, that does not engage that part of my brain that is creating new thoughts.
Uh-huh.
Um, and uh, Coloring, however, is will take up some of that. Not as much as drawing a new idea, but it
Uh-huh.
certainly it's harder for me to have a conversation while I'm coloring. Not impossible, but harder.
Uh-huh.
I found that
Yeah, I go ahead.
drawing a brand new thing, unless I'm doing it like on the Thursday show where it's very quick and I'm not worrying about getting it right. I'm doodling it.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, trying to draw something good for want of a better qualifier, it really takes me out of conversation.
Mhm. Well, that's understandable. I know I learned about myself over the years that I very often like some sort of, not necessarily white noise, but background noise.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it will help. It'll help me focus on the task at hand by zone eliminating potential distractions. If that makes sense.
Yep.
But I discovered if I'm trying to write, if I'm trying to bring forth new things, I'm so word focused that I can't listen to anything with vocals in it.
Yeah, I can't. I discovered that I can't listen to anything with vocals in a language I understand.
Mm.
Uh,
I have not. I never made that distinction, but but I can
I
see.
did it accidentally in by listening to some Japanese stuff, but also some uh, uh, Cirque du Soleil, which
Oh, okay.
has nonsense lyrics a lot of the time. It's not you think it's in French or something else. Mostly it's nonsense lyrics, um, but that didn't matter either way. I could listen to that, and
Okay.
that I then started to find music in other languages I don't understand. I got some French music. I got some Russian music. I got some other stuff that I could put on and listen to that were songs. And I mean, I also got a lot of soundtracks that had
Hmm.
that that was just instrumental.
Yeah, I found soundtracks and scores for for
Yeah,
for for for, for movies as well. Because a lot of times
yeah,
soundtracks, they're like the Matrix soundtrack, and there's a lot of songs. There's a lot of songs in there with lyrics, with vocals.
right,
But like
yeah,
if you get musical score, if you get the musical scores,
right,
those tend to be symphonic music, you know. And so yeah, when I was writing, especially when I was doing a lot of that at TSR and Wizards when I was a designer, it was soundtracks, scores, classical music,
mm-hmm.
uh, jazz. I got more and more into jazz as I listened. Whereas, if I was editing or doing any other kinds of stuff, I could listen to music I was already familiar with that had vocals in it.
Yeah,
If I wasn't, oh, this is a new song from an artist I like, or this is a new artist I'm just learning about, no, that would draw too much of my focus. But, you know, what I would do now is, you know, put on a Pandora station that I know that plays a lot of music I'm already familiar with, or, a Spotify playlist, stuff, you know. Uh, but oh yeah, no, if I was trying to write, no vocals, like
yeah,
no English vocals. It's I was too focused on the words, and I'd find myself, oh, I'm listening to this song, I'm not writing,
right,
dummy.
right. Indian Joe says, "Remember reading the first Dragonlance books to Sergeant Pepper album, fixing a hole, fixing a hole. I'm fixing a hole." I better not sing, or they'll pull the video down.
Yeah. A little
Copyright
higher up in the
infringement because I sing so damn well.
yes, you do. A little higher
Um,
up in the chat, Chris asked, "What was the longest singles drawing session, I guess, that you ever worked on, Stan? And how long was it? Did you feel that was a word how did you feel about your productivity at the end of that session?"
that's a I don't know because I draw at home a lot of the time, so it'll get broken up a little. Like I'll get up and go do things for a couple of minutes and then come back. But I certainly have gone 8 or 10 hours of doing um, nothing much other than drawing. Um, and the I tell you the ones that I think maybe answer this question best are the ones where I have to stop because I realize I'm hungry because I haven't eaten anything in about 14 hours.
Yeah, I know people. I don't think I've ever done that, but I do know people who have similar people who've gotten into a flow, and
Yeah.
they tell me, "Oh yeah, I finally stopped when I realized I was hungry, and it was 6 p.m. and I hadn't eaten anything all
Yeah.
day." Yeah,
Yeah. No, and I'm not the kind of person that usually forgets to eat.
yeah, me either.
But yeah, no, but getting into the headspace and just doing a bunch of drawing, I can get there, and I have on numerous occasions gotten to the point where 6 or 8 or in the worst case 14 hours went, and I'm like, oh, I haven't eaten anything. Maybe that's why I'm losing focus.
Yeah. Yeah, and in a way, that's kind of for me anyway, that's kind of a good feeling. Ooh, I was in the zone.
Yeah, yeah.
I got a lot done. But that's
On the
not
other
something
hand, that's not really
you can
healthy.
set out to do. It's like, okay, now I'm going to sit down and I'm going to get in the zone, and I'm for the next 4 to 6 hours, I'm just going to do this creative thing. It for me anyway, it doesn't work that way. If it happens, it's like, oh, I realize it when it's over.
Yeah. So one of the things that came up when you first came in here, I of course have lunch with Jeff Grubb on Wednesdays and
Mhm.
very often, and Steve Winter, who is another person that gets Jeff gives a lot of credit for Marvel face rip uh, design. But the funny thing is that Jeff doesn't. Everyone I know who plays the game calls it just the way you did, face rip, right? But
Mhm.
Jeff calls it phase rip.
Yeah, I've heard it both ways. Yeah,
Um,
you make the S as Z
yeah,
because consciously or unconsciously you don't want to say face rip.
right.
You know.
I think it's conscious for Jeff.
Mhm.
the phase
Yeah,
rip.
yeah, and if I recall, Steve Winter was the editor on that original box
Yeah,
set. So
I think so.
yeah,
Um,
I'm sure there was development in there, and those two guys, know each other so well, worked together for so long. There was some wonderful synergy there.
and I tell you, I will tell on them. Usually, I don't like to, when we have private conversations, they're private conversations. But I will say that a subject that comes up with regularity is the idea of Jeff and or Steve coming together to do a modern reinterpretation of the phase rip game,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Yeah,
it's not covered by any of uh, the open gaming. It certainly isn't there. But on the other hand, as anyone who works in the industry knows, you can't trademark or copyright rule system. So
mhm.
if they wanted to do a spiritual successor to that game that functioned in similar ways, but they rewrote it from scratch and did whatever modern improvements or changes that they'd always wanted to or whatever, they absolutely
Mhm.
could.
Yeah,
Um,
and the face rip fandom over the last few decades has done that very thing
yeah,
multiple
yeah,
times.
and that's one of the things
I'm
that
sure
Jeff
if
said.
you looked
He's
up
like, why
on
don't we do
drive
that?
through there on drive through RPG, you could find or other places on the internet. There are, I'm sure, several different
Yeah,
as you say, spiritual successors that you could find online with with great ease, because as
yeah,
you say, you can't copyright rolling some dice.
right.
So
So, and I always say, you absolutely should do that. And then the conversation stops and it comes back in about 3 or 4 months. So, I mean, neither one of them
nope.
is kind of,
Uh,
it's one of those, we should do that, but we don't really want. It's not something. It's one of
Uh,
those. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Maybe it's a smart thing to do, but it's not our passion, so it's
uh-huh.
probably not going to happen. But I keep hoping one of these days that they will decide that they're going to do it, because that would be awesome.
Yeah, well, Steve's officially semi-retired now, so he can do whatever the heck he wants.
He's
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 got as much, he could devote
retired.
as much free time as he wanted to it.
Yeah, but he
I'm
doesn't
not sure
want
off the top of my head what
to.
Jeff does for, day to day, if he has a day job anymore or what it is, just because I'm drawing a blank on it right now. But
Who, Jeff?
hey, Steve, you're retired.
Right,
you know, do what we want you to do.
right. Come on, you're retired now. You can do everything that we want.
Yeah, come on. What about us, Steve? Come on.
Think
Your
about
retirement
us.
is really about us. Come on, isn't it?
Um, yeah. So maybe one of these days they'll do that. I don't think so, but I keep hoping. I think it would be great.
Well, there's always, if
And now
there's
that I've said it online, maybe the world will hear and they'll start pitching them, and then they can yell at me for Stan. Don't
what
talk
are you
about us
doing?
in public ever again.
Hey, crowdsourcing. You know,
Damn right.
if you know, you don't have, it's not like there wouldn't be people out there willing to throw some currency at that
Yep.
project. I think there certainly would be.
I think there definitely would be. Oh well. One of these
Mhm.
days.
Michael in chat asked, "Isn't mutants and masterminds?" I'm assuming he means, isn't that sort of the modern face rip? Well,
No,
I know
no,
I
not at
know
all.
mutants and masterminds just announced that they're doing a new edition, but that's a very D20 based super system, isn't it, Stan?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Mutants and Masterminds is a D20 um, variation.
They did just announce that they're going to be doing a fourth edition
Yep, which is very
of the game.
exciting.
Yes.
If folks don't know, Green Ronin has and I know that Michael knows this because I've seen him there. They've got a weekly show called Mutants and Masterminds Monday, or Mumamu, on their YouTube channel, where they talk about all kinds of stuff like this. Steve Kenson and God, I never remember Alex's last name. Um,
No, I don't remember either.
yeah,
It's after 10 p.m. I can't be
right.
called out to remember things.
I'm drawing something. I can't remember it. I'm lucky I remember my own name. Anyway, yes, well worth watching, and they've been talking about that
Mhm.
recently.
Yeah, and I it's several years old now, but I know, speaking of Mr. Kenson, he did a superhero game called Icons.
Yes, which still
Which had,
supports on his Patreon. Icons is a
mhm.
great game. It's more so. Well, I'm looking over here because I've got it on the shelf somewhere within reach. I just can't see where. Right. Oh, here it is. Yeah, Icons.
Mhm.
His Patreon is Icon support.
Okay, that's great. And yeah, I think my Icons stuff that's on my shelf behind me is the first edition stuff. Because
Mm-hmm.
I think what you're holding there is like the
Yeah, that's
revised, or Icons assembled or
the
something.
assembled edition.
The assembled edition. Got it. And so my stuff, like I said, isn't that version. My stuff is the original version. But yeah, seeing that and having talked to Steve, more than a few times over the years, maybe I'm projecting, but I see a lot of like I see some face rip love in the
Oh
at
yeah.
very least original icons at very least. Like I said, I don't have the new one. I can't speak to that, but
I think, and having talked to Steve about it some over the years, I think that there is maybe even equal parts uh, um, face rip and villains and vigilantes influence in
mhm.
the in icons.
Yeah, because I again, my view may be biased based on my personal interests and employment history, but I remember, before uh, Marvel, TSR's Marvel face rip game appeared on the scene. You know, it seemed that if you were playing a superhero game, you were playing villains and vigilantes.
Or champions, yeah.
True, true. The people I was exposed to were around here anyway, were the V and V crowd.
Right.
There were a lot of people playing champions around here, but I know it was the other big superhero system. Of course, they did such good work with that. I still have that big blue book, the
Mhm.
fourth edition champions that I think Rob Bell put together back in the late '80s, early '90s. Um, that is, even if you don't use the champion system, which a lot of people like and a lot of people kind of shy away from because it's a bit mathy, but there's so much, uh, just good superhero lore and knowledge in that big blue book that it's got a permanent space on my superhero RPG shelf. Yeah.
I I liked B&B for the speed of
Mm-hmm.
play. In my group in Binghamton, New York, where I went to college and where I met the group that would be my big gaming group, and where I met Ed Stark, among other people, who was here earlier in the show, hanging out in chat. Um,
Oh, great.
uh, yeah, there were people that it was more champions than anything else, but we had a group. Members of our group were playing B&B, and others were playing champions, and there wasn't a conflict. There's a huge crossover. I wound up not playing in champions because
Mm,
uh, um, I just needed a night off. But
mm-hmm.
it wasn't not and it I much preferred V&V as an experience, as a gaming experience.
Yeah, it would the two comparing the two. Yeah, V&V was certainly much faster to the experience of playing the game, and I believe I probably mentioned this particular story before. But in the early '90s, I think before you arrived, Stan, but correct me if I'm wrong, uh, Rich Baker had joined the company, and he was a big champions guy. And he and Stephen Shen got together and had the brilliant idea. I think Monty Cook had a lot to do with this too. Um, put together parallel campaigns.
Mm,
They Rich and Stephen gathered, the superhero nerds in the building, and pitched us the idea of, okay, you're going to create two versions of the same characters. You're going to create a champions version and a Marvel superheroes face rip version. And Rich ran the champions game and Steven ran the face rip game, and they were independent campaigns. It wasn't a big crossover thing, although that could have been
right.
cool. Um, but a lot of us had experience with one system, but not necessarily both. And like I said, I hadn't played champions really at all, so it was very illuminating to sit down and run through a session of champions when I hadn't played it before, and opened up my eyes to what the hero system and champions could do. I mean, I ended up subscribing to what was it, Adventurers Quarterly, which was the little digest size sort of fan semi. I guess let's see, Iron Crown, I think, had the rights
Yeah.
to Champion at the
Yeah.
time, and they had Adventurers Quarterly, which had hero system stuff, not just Champions, but it was Champions and the pulp stuff, Justice Incorporated, and so on. And I learned to appreciate the hero system approach to it, and there were people who were in the groups, like I think Rich Baker, for example, not wanting to put words into his mouth or anything, but sitting down and playing through a couple of combats in Marvel Superheroes, and he was like, "Wow, okay, that was really interesting." Obviously a very different play experience from Champions, not better or worse, but just different. And so the Champions people were kind of going, "Yeah, oh, okay, so that's how this works." Here, and like those of us who were not experienced with the hero system, was like, "Oh, okay, that's how the hero system works. Oh, okay, I see why everyone likes this so much. Why the hero system fans like it." And so I thought that was just a very sort of intellectual exercise that we were able to take part in, because Rich and Steven put their heads together and said, "Hey, let's compare and contrast."
We got smart friends.
Yes, we do. Chris asks, you and I both, if we could have one superpower, what would it be? And while you're drawing, I'll throw my answer out there. And I don't know. With putting aside all questions of morals and ethics temporarily, my superpower would be telepathy. Because if I know what you're thinking, I can not using mental powers or anything, but if I just know what you're thinking, I can do all I can to steer this conversation in the direction I want, or steer your decision making in the direction I want. I don't have to change your mind. Just let me know what you're thinking, and I'll take it. I'll do the rest. And of course that wouldn't work all the time. Right. That would be an incredible advantage. Well, what is this guy really thinking?
That's a very real world answer. If I could have any superpower, the one that always comes up is flight, and I'm trying to not say flight.
Right.
Just because I've said that before, so it's probably the answer, but I want to think of something more interesting to say.
Well, that's certainly a common one. That's very, emblematic of, I think, of the human condition. What is this thing that humans can't do? We're stuck on the ground. We can't fly. So that's, and of course, people it seems to be a common dream, people fly, there's myths about Icarus and everything. And so I think that's that's a perfectly valid answer. Just for myself, I'm perfectly okay going up in an airplane or, other conveyances that would move you through the air. Being unencumbered by machinery up in the air beyond a certain height gets to me. I can go up on the roof of my house and clear the gutters, and but I'm not talking about that.
Right.
But I'm like talking. We've got an old TV aerial from when TV was broadcast, and that's like 40 feet high, I think, in the backyard. You would have to give me a very large amount of money to get me to climb to the top of that thing.
Right, but if you could fly, that would probably change, right? The fear of the falling, which certainly I don't have a particular fear of heights, but very similar. Beyond a certain point, and I just feel myself getting oogie at that, at looking down, at being too close to an edge.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm afraid I jump; I'm afraid that I'd trip.
Yeah.
I'm too clumsy to stand that close to the edge. yeah, I'd
So yeah,
love
I
to.
imagine if I could just soar up into the air, do a Superman, well, that fear of, unattached to anything, would go away because, hey,
Yeah,
I'm flying,
you'd
you know,
think.
you would, but at the same time, it would be like that first flight would be very difficult for me. I'm not going to go, rocketing straight up on my first flight. I'm going to, fly over the neighborhood a little bit, get a little bit
Okay,
higher, it's
right.
like, okay, I think that's high enough for now. I'm going to go back to the ground and land and let my heart rate return to normal.
I'm gonna get used to this at low altitude.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have to, yeah, Michael talks about teleportation.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah. Chris mentions telepathy could be a curse. Yeah, if you realize, if it was like, if you couldn't do it selectively, if you were just receiving, what everyone was thinking, he makes the point that, telepathy could be a curse if your loved ones aren't thinking nice thoughts about you. Yeah,
yeah. No,
yeah,
telepathy. That's certainly one of the downsides to it. Is once you know, right?
yes,
What do you do with that when you find out what other people are thinking?
yeah. What are they? What does this person really think of me? This person that I admire or respect or love, you know. But of course, then there's the whole thing, surface thoughts versus, deeper bonds and emotions and so forth. I I have no doubt that my wife Cindy loves me very much, but I also know I can annoy the heck out of her.
Right.
You know, she still loves me, but at that moment, she's
Probably.
not thinking about that. She is just annoyed that I will not shut up or whatever it is. So yeah, there would be risks to that. Chris also mentions time travel, breathing underwater. Yeah, those are two
Yeah.
things, by the way. Of course, time travel as one idea, or being able to breathe underwater. The thing about breathing underwater, and this is such a superhero nerd thing to say, you couldn't get that deep before the pressure would start to get to you. You'd need the the dense flesh of a Namor or something, to be able to withstand the depths of going, more than 20 or 30 feet deep. There,
That's real world science in the superhero world.
right. And yeah, apparently, my the stuff I've been talking about the last several minutes is real world based. But I just remember, when I was a kid and I was at the deep end of the, we were playing in the neighborhood pool, which was a regular pool, and it had a deep end for diving and stuff. And you're playing frisbee or something, and something sinks to the bottom, and I'll go get it. And you get to the bottom, and it's only 12 feet deep or something like that. But it was like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of pressure. As far as, I guess, time travel would go, I always pictured it because, again, my growing up, I always pictured my time travel being via a TARDIS.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah. So I guess what superpower do you want? It could be a device.
yeah.
That's
You have a
certainly the
time.
way champions or villains and vigilantes work. Your power can be tied to an
Mhm.
external thing.
Yeah, a fully functional TARDIS. And you don't even have to necessarily travel around in time. You could, like growing up, I have this term paper I have to do, or this big project, whatever it is. And you put it off and you put it off and you put it off like teenagers do. But if I remember my TARDIS lore correctly, like once you're inside the TARDIS, you're outside of time. So I could wait until whenever I felt like doing that project, step inside my TARDIS, do it until it's done, however much effort it required, bing, 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 it's done, and then exit the TARDIS, 5 seconds after I entered it. Oh, look, my research paper's done, you know, and I could have spent 3 days or 3 weeks inside the TARDIS, but in time itself, I come out 5 seconds after I went in, and that'd be a great way to write novels.
Yeah, it would be. Did I ever? I doubt I ever did. Did I ever tell you my wonder about hypnotism and writing novels?
No.
So when I was at summer camp, when I worked at a summer camp a lot as a teen, and one of the camps I worked at every year would have a hypnotist. They'd hire a hypnotist to come in and do a show. And this one guy, as part of his show, he would get a whole bunch of people on stage, right? Almost all of them did this. Get a whole bunch of different people on stage, see who was susceptible, keep them on stage, and then the show was monkeying around with them.
Mm-hmm.
This guy had a segment of the show where he took a guy, and this was a guy I knew, right? Everyone on the stage was someone that I was at camp with. So he took this guy and he said, all right, you have been chosen to write, to give a speech. You're going to give a speech. And the subject is women's liberation. Now, of course, this is the late 70s, early 80s, and that was more of a hot topic that had a lot of touchy permutations than thankfully we have today. And it wasn't something that this guy was particularly into. And said, you've got 4 weeks to write your presentation. It's got to be like 5 minutes long, and you are going to each day work on it and move it along, and you're not going to feel pressured. You're going to write what you want to write, and at the end of the 4 weeks, you will have your speech written. And I'm gonna when I touch your shoulder, the first week is going to begin, and you're going to work on this thing. And he touches his shoulder and puts him down, and then goes and deals with a bunch of other people for a few minutes. And it comes back to the guy and touches him on the shoulder and says, "Okay, how is your speech coming along?" And he says, "Well, okay, I think I've got something. It's coming along good." He says, "Okay, when I touch you on the shoulder, the second week is going to begin, and you're going to work on it, and you're going to make progress, and you will advance it. And at the end of the second week, you'll have gotten something you feel is pretty good that you can polish up and work with." And then he goes around and does a bunch of other stuff and comes back to the guy in a few minutes and touches him on the shoulder and says, "The end of the second week, where are things going?" And the guy says, "Things are going good. I think I've got it. I think I've got what I want to do." He says, "All right, when I touch on the shoulder, you're going to spend the next week polishing it up, just kind of looking at it and figuring out if it says what you want it to say and tweak it a little. And at the end of this week, you're going to be really happy with what you've got." Again, goes around, talks to other people, comes back to the guy in a bit, touches him on the shoulder, asks him how it's going, and the guy says just what he's supposed to, right? I've got it. This is it. I have this thing, and I'm comfortable that I can do this, but I'm nervous about giving the speech. He says, "Okay, when I touch on the shoulder, you've got 1 more week until you're going to be giving the speech. You're gonna relax. You're gonna take some time off, and you're gonna practice. You're gonna practice this speech every day. Just practice it. Get comfortable with it. It's only it's not a long. Is it very long? No, it's not very long. It's not that long. You're gonna practice it. You're gonna get comfortable, and you're gonna any part that's not working for you, you're gonna change it a little so it's easier, and you're gonna be able to give this speech. You're gonna feel very good about it." Again, goes around, monkeys with some other people for a while, comes back and says to the guy, "Where you at?" He says, "Oh, I'm ready." So now what he's done over the the time monkeying with other people is set them all up with a series of, when this guy does this, that guy, you do that, and when this guy does that, you'll do that, in the entertaining kind of way that these hypnotism shows go. But this guy is going to be giving a 5-minute speech about women's lib. And it says, okay, so you're going to give your speech. It's a day of the speech. You're feeling calm. You're feeling confident. And you're going to go into a soundproof booth, and there's not going to be anyone around. There's no one to make you nervous. You just the way you practice it, you're going to do the speech. And the culmination of the show is he gets this guy to start giving the speech, and holds a microphone in front of him, and he starts giving a speech, like about which seemed to be the kind of things that he might write about women's lib, what he thinks about it. And then he pulls the microphone away and goes around and starts setting other people off to yell at them and interact. But this guy can't hear them because he's in a soundproof booth. And every once in a while, he's running around between people shouting. People are jumping up and doing jumping jacks and God bless Americas and blah, 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 blah. And he comes back to this guy and sticks a microphone in front of his face. And he's somewhere in the middle of giving the speech.
Yep.
So, there's a long description of what the show is. But what this triggered in my head is, could you, as someone who has the skill to write a short story or a novel, could I go to a hypnotist with this kind of parameter and have him sit down and say, you're going to write the first draft of your novel? And when however long it takes in the prep time, which I think is part of it, you've got to give the brain some time to assemble something. At the end of the session, say, all right, I want you to read what you have on your paper. And read out this short story or this chapter or this novel that you've written. A, could that happen? And B, would it be any good? Could you, in the course of half an hour or an hour at a hypnotist session, do a month's worth of writing and editing and polishing and come up with something that was worthwhile, that is what you would have done over the course of a month? Or how close would it be?
That's a very interesting question. Yeah. Again, the rational, real world side of me says you'd get, if this hypnotism session, was 2 hours, and then, let's say it's a short story, because you compress the time. Okay, in 2 real world weeks, you're going to complete the first draft. You're going to do all your prep work, but then the actual writing is going to you're going to sit down and devote this time during these 2 weeks to do the actual writing. And then, at the end of that 2-hour session, okay, read that story, into a microphone or something that the hypnotist provides.
Right.
No higher education in psychology or neurology or anything like that. I think you'd get a first draft of that story that looks like you'd worked on it for 2 hours.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. For 25 years now, I've wondered about this, and I've never known anyone skilled enough in hypnosis that I would want to try it with them.
Right, because there's a level of trust there as well.
Right.
I think that would be.
Alternatively, what if I, in my real world, real life, do the outline, and all I have to do is, I've got an outline for a novel that I've put together and got all the chapters broken down, and I know what I want it to be, and I've planned out a novel. I just need to take the time to write it. What would I get out of this process?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just in the end, I'm just super curious and also afraid to know the answer.
Yeah, that's a pretty deep philosophical question you got there, Stan.
What what does the when you tell the brain that it's taking a week to do something, how how much can it fake out of that?
Mm-hmm.
If it's a skill if I didn't have the skill for writing, like in the end, what this guy was saying, like I say, it sounded like the kind of thing this guy would write. Like, it wasn't some polished, smart, uh, research paper beyond what he would already know. But if I'm writing a Forgotten Realm story about characters that I made up, or a story about my own characters that I made up,
Mm-hmm.
how much could I do? How much could I do 3 or 4 sessions with a hypnotist and wind up with a novel that I've read aloud that I then just have to type up?
That's a very intriguing question, Stan.
I know. It scares me.
Yeah. My issue with that would be, I've attended some of those, hypnotism shows and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I think I am too guarded to let the sort of,
right. And I know that's the case because I've gone on the stage. Mm-hmm. I've gone on the stage and tried to be hypnotized, and I was just too focused on what was going on. I was always someone that they had to say, "All right, go back to the audience."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I believe you have to consciously let yourself be affected in that way. It's maybe that's not true. I don't know. You've seen. I've seen the live shows. I've seen the guys on TV, and whether it's real or not, I'm going to hypnotize you, look in my eyes and boom,
right.
His finger, and the person, slumps like they're in a trance.
Like I say, that's the fascinating thing to me about having seen this show live, where everyone except the hypnotist was someone I knew. It wasn't just the guy that went up or 3 other people. Everyone on the stage, everyone in the building was someone I knew except the hypnotist, which led me to be much more have much more belief that what was happening was not a setup. Right, the number of people
because there are no obvious plants in that audience
doing things they would never do, or certainly not that convincingly. Even if they were faking it, they would not have faked it that convincingly. And that guy giving a speech about a thing that was, again, I didn't get to hear the whole thing, but the guy kept coming back and putting the microphone in front of his mouth, and he was saying things. He was saying, 15, 20 seconds, half a minute of a speech about on topic that sounded like his own, what he might produce on his own.
It was in his own voice.
Yeah. So, and just having talked to everyone that was in there, what they remembered, what they didn't remember, what you could tell them, you did this, and they said, I didn't do that. Everyone in camp saw you do that. But then again, I also saw a couple of people who afterwards had headaches because of what had gone on. The hypnotist actually stuck around afterwards to kind of help them work through what was causing that and release that. So, what is it? If you can do it, what does it cost to do that? If I can do this, where I could go and get a month's worth of writing done in an hour, what would it cost me to have done that?
Yeah, true.
I don't know.
I do remember, there was the, in the 70s, 80s, there was the, you know, hey, go come get hypnotized to get rid of your bad habits,
Right.
you know.
And it's still out there. There's still people doing that for
Right.
a living.
And, my dad, he wasn't a cigarette smoker that I remember, but he smoked a pipe and occasionally cigars. And he started to get older, and he realized, well, that's probably not something that's really healthy. Yeah. And so he went and did it, and it worked. He stopped smoking. Now, I don't remember in detail, you know, if it worked forever, because I certainly remember him, smoking, but I don't remember, which event took place,
Right.
and it may not have stuck forever. It may not have been a permanent thing, but at the very least, it worked for a while, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So there you go. Who knew that this was going to be a subject tonight?
really, deep thoughts with Stan Brown.
Deep
You know, I
thoughts with Jack Handy.
I just found out. I was watching a clip of an interview with a longtime SNL writer and performer. Jack Handy was a real person. He was one of the writers
Yeah. Yeah.
on SNL. I never knew that. I thought that was, a nom de plume someone made up. No, Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy. Jack Handy was a writer on SNL.
Well, I knew. I mean, he had done that before SNL. Um,
Oh, okay.
but I always thought it was a stage name, and maybe it was, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe it wasn't. Now that you say that, maybe the guy's name really was Jack Handy.
That's what this person. It may have been Seth Meyers. I'm not sure who it was, who the interview was with, but he was like, "No, Jack Handy was a guy. He was in the writers' room with us. And the interviewer was like, "Really, that was a real person? That was just no, he was one of our writers." And yeah, he had done this, prior, and so he proposed it, and yeah, it's funny. Go for it, So it became the thing it became.
So
Michael,
you're not going to Gen Con, are you, Dale?
up until earlier today, my answer would have been no.
Uh-oh. Now your answer is
I'm going to be in Indy for at least part of that weekend. I don't have a badge. I don't know. I don't know if I will be in. I certainly won't be in the exhibit hall unless someone can sneak me in. But I will be in Indy that weekend, at least on Saturday, because my friend Ben Riggs, author of Slaying
yeah.
the Dragon book, reached out today and said, "Hey Dale, I'm doing a quick, kind of day and a half at Gen Con next weekend. Are you going? If not, do you want to go with me? You know, go down Friday, spend the day Saturday, and come back Sunday."
Oh, he's got to be able to.
Um,
If he's a guest, right?
I don't know exactly. I think he's going on his own. I don't think he's a guest. He's an official
Oh,
guest this year. I could be wrong on that, but he's not going for the whole show. He's just going down to, talk to a few people, do
right.
a few things, and then come back. And he offered to allow me to accompany him,
Oh, sweet.
and I was able to say, "Oh my God, yes, that would be great." So, like I said, I
Awesome.
guess we're staying. I guess we're staying at a B&B, and we're arriving Friday. He's got some stuff to do Friday night, and then we're going to work out, Saturday as it happens, and then we're probably going to pile back in his car uh, Sunday and return. But
Nice.
yes, that will be nice. I'll get a chance to spend quite a bit of time with Ben. I haven't seen him in quite some time. He's a busy man. He's got a career and a family and a gig writing books, and
Good for him.
yeah. And so I'm looking forward. I was very flattered by the invitation, and looking forward to it. Yeah, a little
I
road trip.
I was just thinking of him today because I'm beginning to put together my list of people to talk to about being guests on the show.
Mm. Yep. I, you and I had talked about him either on the show or off the air about him potentially being a guest, and I mentioned it to him, and he was very enthusiastic about the idea.
All right.
So
Well, I mean, not that it needs to come up, but if it does, I've got to send him. Uh, I think I'm going to wait until after Gen Con because right now, for everyone who's involved in that,
yeah.
Gen Con is eating all the air. Um, but I'm going to drop him a note about being a guest in
Mhm.
uh, August or September.
Yeah, I can see if it comes up too. I can mention it to him as well. And as Michael in chat says, Dale has a date. Dale has a date. Yes, I do. I have a date for Gen Con.
I have a date for the Gen Con. Awesome. Well, say hi to folks.
I will. I will. I know our good friend Lester Smith is doing something similar. He's going to Indy, but I don't know if he's actually attending the convention. He may just be doing, the periphery stuff, you know, hanging out,
Yeah,
seeing
if I
people,
still lived
meeting people.
anywhere in that region, that's totally what I would do.
Yes, very much so.
I
You
miss
know,
being able to see my friends who are going to be there, but the show itself doesn't have a lot for me. Although I guess with this show, I would probably spend more time trying to line up some guests. You want to be on my show? Come be on my show.
Chris is putting in a couple of deep thoughts by Jack Handy into the chat. One thing vampire children have to be taught early on is don't run with a wooden stake. And if you ever drop your keys into a river of molten lava, let them go, because, man, they're gone. And, of course, hearing that thing about keys reminds me about the stolen cars stories that you and Jeff were telling earlier.
Do
And I
you have
remember,
stolen car stories too?
no, I don't know. My stolen car story is Jeff's stolen car story. Because I just thought, oh yeah, not long after we moved out to Seattle, there was a friend of mine who had like the most stolen car in the world. He kept getting it stolen. He'd get it back after a week or two, but then the cops would find it somewhere. You know, but I didn't know your stolen car story and the 1 in 8 Civics keys will open any other Civic.
That just seems like bad planning.
Yes, lack of foresight there. What
That
like it
I mean
was.
that's the kind of thing you get in a country like Japan, where yeah, but who would steal someone else's car?
Mhm.
Anyone in America?
Mhm. Michael in chat is saying good night for the evening because he's going to, and I can't fault him for this. He's going to go watch Stephen Colbert. So
Not a bad job. I will watch Colbert on as I normally do on uh, YouTube tomorrow.
mhm.
I'm so bummed about the Colbert news.
Yes, I have a large mix of emotions, sadness
Anger.
and Fury, uh, you know, and a lot of people have been picking up on that, obviously, and some people I've seen. Um, at some point, David Letterman was on, I believe, was on Colbert's show, and
Yeah.
he was talking about dealing with CBS at the time, in his era. And even though he pretty much owned those, after when he left NBC and went to CBS, he basically, as I understand it, he basically owned those 2 hours, his
Yes.
show, and then Craig Ferguson's show. You know, he could do whatever he wanted, pretty much. But Letterman was talking about some of the things, and one of his quips was, "Well, you can't spell CBS without BS."
Yeah. Well, it also reminds me of the whether it was TSR or Wizards or Hasbro, in the end, there's a business side of it that is gonna just disappoint you. It's gonna break your heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true in so many things. But we have until next May to enjoy Mr. Colbert, and I can't imagine he's going to hold back in any way, shape, or form in the next 10 months or whatever it is. Well, so that will be enjoyable to see him, unrestrained in.
Ay, 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 ay. Well, yeah. So, Michael, thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the show. We'll see you. Well, maybe I'll see you tomorrow night for the Random Encounter show. All right. This is coming together. We are now getting into the 3 hour mark here. Anyway, maybe. Thank you, Dale, for popping in and tagging in for Jeff after he had to boogie. I tell everyone who agrees to do this, you don't have to stay any longer than you need to.
I'm happy.
I'll stay as long as I want.
The closer for the Mariano Rivera to
right. Your Brewers had a good game today. I don't know if you saw.
They've been having a lot of good games.
They're playing some damn good baseball.
Yeah. Very pleased. Sweeping the Dodgers in Milwaukee and LA.
Yeah.
Was very nice to see, and catching the Cubs, and hoping they're going to continue to be the thorn in the Cubs side the rest of the way.
Well, they keep this up, they're gonna be more than a thorn in the Cubs side.
Yeah, that's true. If they can maintain this pace, which is probably unrealistic, but they keep playing well and they stay healthy, they could definitely step in and end up making the Cubs chase them the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Of course, it's getting towards the end of July, so everyone's talking about moves at the trade deadline and so forth. And I was reading something from ESPN's Jeff Passan today. He was broke down. Okay, what one move should every team make?
Right.
And the thing he said about the Brewers was, he said, well, yeah, they could probably use a corner outfielder or maybe a super utility man, but right now they're healthy and they're deep pretty much everywhere. They don't have a screaming need.
You know what they need to do is not screw it up.
Yes, that is the key. Yes.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I did not read the article, but I got to figure if you'd ask me what the Mets need to do, they need to play like they did in May. That's what they need to do. They need to go back to playing like they played in May. I don't think that one thing they could get would fix them.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone seems to have gone into the typical Mets mid-season Oh, how do we play this game again? It was so very easy a month ago. I'm
Chris in the
surprised.
chat says Yogi would say it's getting late early in the
Yeah.
playoff race.
Yep. All right,
Yeah,
Dale. So I guess I'll
yeah.
stop it. This is where I'm stopping on the drawing. I will work on it more. Those of you who have suffered through 3 hours of this, God bless you. Well done. If you
I love
will,
that tattoo work you did. Assuming that's the tattoo, is that those
yeah,
are
no. The
tattoos?
question is, I was asking Jeff Quick what he thought about this earlier. When we look at these, are those tattoos? Are those is that blood smeared on him, or are those gouges? Because I keep looking at them and thinking it looks like he's actually gouged himself. And this is the Rob Schwalb book. This is Shadow of the Demon Lord. It could very well be body mutilation. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. What do you
Yeah,
think?
it's hard. It's hard to tell from just that image. Yeah, and Chris says the Mets need to pretend they're not the Mets. Ha ha! I can say that as a Mets fan.
Yeah, as a Mets fan, I can take that exactly. I understand exactly how you mean that. Boy.
Yeah, I don't know what those marks would be, in world, but talking about
Yeah.
teams and so forth, I came
So
across just
I'm not
some.
sure what I'm gonna do on placing shadows on them. Uh,
Mhm.
I'm happy with how they look right now, but I've got to do something in finishing this to give them a little more oomph. We'll see.
Yep,
Maybe when I'm done, I'll ask Rob what his take on it is.
there
Doesn't
you go.
matter what I don't need to know the real answer while I'm working. This is my interpretation, and I can
Mhm.
find out the real answer later.
There you go.
If you want to see this when it's done, then 50 years in the dungeon.substack.com is the newsletter, the free newsletter that you want to join. Go sign up. I let you know what's coming up this week. You're the first people to get to see drawings when they're finished, and I send out JPEGs of the sketches when they're done. And if you join, you can go into the archives and get all that for all the drawings I've done so far, which is a lot of stuff. And it's still free. If you want to become a paid member, you get some extra stuff too. But yeah, no, free. Go join it for free.
Free is
Um,
good.
yep. If you want to do something paid, well, then perhaps you want to join my Patreon. Patreon.com/Stanex. Nice community of fun people, and everything I do that is publicly available gets sent to your email, and you get extra behind the scenes stuff, and you get to hang out with me more. I'm always trying to think of new things that I can do to kind of let people in my Patreon community have a little extra access, a little extra fun. All right, Dale, thank you very
Stan.
much.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for letting me jump in. I was just, enjoying the show with you and Jeff, and Jeff said he had to leave, and you said you wanted to continue. So I was like, well, I'll see if Stan wants a pinch hitter.
You're my reliever. You're my long range reliever.
I'll be your, yeah, I'll be your John Franco
There
to
you
make a
go.
Mets reference as opposed to the other two reference I made before.
Yeah, yeah,
I always liked Franco. He always looked like he was having fun out there, and he was a lefty, right? So
yeah.
yeah, and I think he greatly enjoyed not only the fact that he was doing what he was doing for a living, but just that as a lefty, he was just extra baffling to a lot of
My
to a lot of hitters. Yeah.
my favorite Mets reliever is always going to be Tug McGraw, who was also a lefty. Uh,
Yes. Oh yeah, Tug. Yes, I remember him. Yes, he was clearly having the time of his
yeah,
life anytime he was pitching. Yes.
and he also was the co-author of a daily syndicated comic strip.
I did not know that.
Mm. It was called
I know
Scrooge.
he's Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said it was called Scroogey.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. But
Yeah.
no, I did not know that. But my Tug McGraw trivia only extends so far as to the fact that he is Tim McGraw's dad.
Yeah. And as Chris Andrews, you gotta believe that was a Tug McGrawism.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dale, take care. If I don't talk
You
to you
too.
before then, have a good time at Gen Con.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
everyone is tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow night with an episode of Random Encounters. And Friday night, there'll be a new episode of The Sumo Show. So pop on in, say hi. And Dale, take care, man.